Chapter 297. Tang Tian immediately nodded his head. Good. Master's right. Looking at the other silver treasures, all of them were carefully selected by Old Man Fei, and were all extraordinary. Old Man Fei was so happy that he could not close his mouth. To do a good job, one must first sharpen their tools. With these treasures, his Blood Meridian's laboratory would immediately become a first-rate laboratory. Hearing that, Belle went to open the door. In this small mountain of treasures, the most eye-catching were undoubtedly the 3 gold-shining treasures. He was full of initiative but not cautious enough. Phoenix constellation belonged to the Southern Sky constellation, but was the strongest constellation in the Southern Sky's 42 constellations. This Phoenix beam fire lamp was the size of a palm. The Phoenix's entire body was golden with beautiful colors. The Phoenix's mouth could spit out a Phoenix fire, but this Phoenix fire was not even 30 centimeters long and was useless in battle. But to use it for Blood Meridian's experiments, it was extremely suitable. Refining, removing impurities, etc., it had many uses. Lyra constellation belonged to the Northern Sky constellation. Ever since the Lyra dynasty was destroyed, Lyra constellation had never been able to recover, and it was rumored that the majority of Lyra constellation's treasures were sealed in the Lyra treasury. So when he saw the Lyra test tube, Old Man Fei was ecstatic. There was not just one Lyra test tube, but a set of 24, placed in a gold box with engravings of Lyra constellation patterns. The 24 test tubes were quietly arranged in the gold box, every test tube emitting a faint light aura. The light auras were all different and had their own uses. Tang Tian was startled. Sky Treasure Room wanted to send him an invitation? He did not understand the situation and said to Belle, "Let him in." Jumping back onto Flamingo like a wild silver wind, he disappeared into the yellow sand. A line of blood suddenly appeared on his forehead. Following that, with an astonishing speed, it extended to both sides. The eye-catching line of blood split his body into 2. Young Master Xing? Old Man Fei secretly decided. Not simple. Xie Guangzhong was moved. To be able to recruit a silver onyx soul horse, this person is definitely not simple. That Blood Meridian specialist surnamed Fei, I'm afraid he is not ordinary. 1.5 billion to build a Blood Meridian's laboratory in the entire Yong'an city, there are only 3 of them. This young Master Xing is really ambitious. Xie Guangzhong was the head manager of Sky Treasure House. He had been in charge of Yong'an City's Sky Treasure House for 20 years. In these 20 years he had been conscientious and did not dare to slack off. This was the first time the clan union had taken the initiative to stir up trouble, and everyone could sense that something was amiss. So powerful? Tang Tian was stunned for a moment before he said proudly, "Not bad, not bad. The manager of the Heavenly Treasure House is very smart. The day after tomorrow I'll bring you to broaden your horizons. I've never been to such a high-end place." Lupus constellation? Xie Guangzhong's gaze congealed. He had more insider information than others, and he knew that there were many pairs of eyes staring at Lupus constellation. "I am a deacon of Sky Treasure Room. The manager has specially ordered me to send an invitation to young Master Xing," the person outside said respectfully. Young Master Xing's background was not simple. Crane sect. Wu Taiyu's face was filled with confusion. He had heard of this sect before. It was very weak. But Xie Guangzhong keenly noticed the information. "You said they spent 1.5 billion to buy star treasures for Blood Meridian specialists?" Old Man Fei looked at the mountain of star treasures in front of him, and felt as though he was dreaming. He had never thought that there would be a day where he would be able to use the phrase, "mountain of star treasures." "Master, I won't be going." Old Man Fei shook his head. "I'll tidy up the house for the next 2 days so that when I leave, it will be more convenient. And I have some thoughts that I need to sort out." Yun Duo covered his mouth, his face filled with shock as he looked at the scene in front of him. Tang Tian casually chatted with him for a while before the man took his leave. "No matter what, I must quickly unravel the mystery of Master's Blood Meridians." Sky Treasure House walked the high-end route, and the high-end route selling method was naturally different from the low-end. Other than the gold energy plate, the other 2 were Phoenix Constellation's Phoenix Beam Fire Lamp, and Lyra Constellation's Lyra Test Tube. "Do you have any clues about his background?" Xie Guangzhong asked. "Yes. The subordinate investigated very clearly and said carefully, "This person has an old man by his side surnamed Fei. He is not famous and has been in Yong'an City for over 10 years, but has always been mediocre. I do not know how he managed to trick young Master Xing to gain his trust." Blood spurted out. He listened to his subordinate's report with a calm expression, and waited until the subordinate finished. He thought for a while, then said, "You said they spent 1.5 billion in a day?" The man heaved a sigh of relief. "Then we'll wait for young master the night after tomorrow. There will be a carriage coming to fetch young master. Young master can bring another 2 people to the banquet." Tang Tian then understood and laughed out loud. "Such a pity I've spent all my money." He took out an invitation card. The man opened his mouth at this time. "This gold card is a small token from the manager. Please accept it, young master." When Tang Tian said that, he did not have the slightest bit of shortness of breath. Instead he was proud and confident. Wu Taiyu stared at the black-robed young man in front of him and spoke with difficulty. "You? Who exactly are you?" Although old Fei was not very reliable, but he was still very proactive in his work. "Your subordinate will do it immediately." The subordinate understood. Although the Honorable Martial Alliance had not made a move yet, but Tang Tian had quietly created an army, which made the other 2 parties even more surprised, and the situation became even more confusing. Bao laughed bitterly. The master was so straightforward. If he met those people who liked to beat around the bush, she did not know what would happen. Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally spent 1.5 billion. All right, there was nothing else for him to do, although old Fei did not seem too reliable, but Tang Tian did not plan to interfere. The one who came in was a man of about 30 years of age with a respectful demeanor. "My humble house will have a banquet the night after tomorrow. I heard that young Master Xing has arrived at Yong'an City, and the manager specially instructed me to send an invitation card to young master. I hope that young master will give me the honor." There are no obvious clues. The subordinate hesitated for a while. "I can find out. It seems like his onyx soul horses are more interested in the matters of Lupus constellation. Only the big powerhouses and aristocratic families would pay attention to such a big situation." Xie Guangzhong laughed out loud. "I'm afraid he is the star of star coins." Xie Guangzhong deduced that young Master Xing should be from a new family with abundant funds but not much accumulation. Young Master Xing's display of grandeur and ambition was also in line with the style of a new family. Ling Su wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His internal injuries were severe. Looking at Huai Baihua, who had transformed into a silver statue, he glanced at the distant cowering figure. His mouth was filled with ridicule and disdain. Walking to Huai Baihua, he skillfully stripped his body clean. Bao revealed a cautious posture. She walked to the door. "Who is it?" "I am Crane, a disciple of the Crane sect." Crane's calm voice carried the wind into Wu Taiyu's ears. No business would dislike such a customer. "Yes." His subordinate reported respectfully. "Yong'an City's secret treasure business is going crazy. They bought 3 gold secret treasures, 6 silver secret treasures worth 50 million, 10 20 million secret treasures, and 10 small secret treasures worth 70 to 80 million. The total amount has reached 1.5 billion star coins. All of them are treasures used by Blood Meridian specialists. Other than us, all the treasures in the star treasure shops in Yong'an City have been swept clean." Suddenly someone knocked on the door. "I think Master's actions these few days must have alarmed them." Bell laughed. "They are doing business. Master is such a big customer. How can they ignore it?" Onyx Soul, Honorable Martial Alliance, Clan Union. The 3 big powerhouses had maintained a tacit understanding for many years, and Lupus Constellation had the possibility of becoming the battlefield for the 3 big figures. Sky Treasure Room. Onyx Soul had already started to have many clan elders. The legend of Southern Cross Constellation had spread throughout Onyx Soul overnight. Obviously there was someone secretly adding fuel to the fire. "Sky Treasure Room?" The subordinate immediately said. "This person's background is mysterious. He wears an orangutan mask. He is not old, so everyone calls him Young Master Xing." After thinking it through, Xie Guangzhong said, "There will be a banquet for this month the night after tomorrow. Send someone to send an invitation to Young Master Xing. Remember, also send a gold card. It can be used as a gift." But thinking about it, for a person who could spend 1.5 billion a day, how could he be simple? Tang Tian took it, opened the invitation. Inside it was a gold card. This kind of family was not rare, on the contrary, there were many of them in the past few years. He was extremely excited, although the master had threatened and warned him, but old man Fei was still dead set on him. Because of respect and trust, the master had his own requirements and considerations, but the master was willing to spend 1.5 billion on him. That was the trust in his own abilities, and that was more beneficial than anything else. Lupus Constellation was just a secluded corner of Heaven's Road, but it had already become the center of the struggle. Those who were interested in Lupus Constellation were definitely not small fries. What's the meaning of this sky treasure room? Tang Tian asked curiously. 3 gold-rank treasures, each of them was enough to support a Blood Meridian's laboratory. Thinking about his ambitions, Wu Taiyu's mouth was filled with bitterness. Tang Tian nodded his head and said, "Thank you, big manager, I will be troubling you the day after tomorrow." Just at this time, the bright red sun leaped out from behind the young man. These new families were the best customers. They were generous as long as they could satisfy their needs. They would not care about the price. It was like a dream. Master's eyes are like a torch. His subordinate immediately flattered him. There is another person beside young Master Xing called Belle. She is an onyx soul horse, silver rank. She used to be alone, but I do not know when she was recruited by this person. Belle said, "This gold card is a good thing. Sky Treasure Room is a membership system, and is not open to the public. Only those with a card can enter. The gold card is much more valuable than a normal membership card. It has a series of privileges, and in Yong'an City, it is a symbol of status. This card, if you put it out, there will be people willing to buy it for 20 million. Even the disciples of the big families, to have the authority to spend 1.5 billion a day, their position in the family would definitely not be low." Thinking about it, those big families were excluded by Xie Guangzhong. They rarely went outside to buy star treasures. They had their own ways and would not go to those small shops. Chapter 298. Xiaoxia, are you hurt? A young man's panicked voice rang out. Light flashed. Ajio slowly walked towards Tang Tian. "Oh my God, look at that splashing gravy, splashing on the white tablecloth as if there had been a muddy rainstorm. Then look at his crude movements. The knife stabbed into the elbow and this barbarian actually cut off the bone." Tang Tian ate happily. Coming to this banquet was the right choice. This was simply a paradise for delicacies. Every type of food was delicious. The only thing that made him feel regretful was that the portions were too small. But this regret completely disappeared when he discovered the sauced pork knuckle. Young Master Xing, who was at the side, wore the ugly mask on his face, and what made it hard for everyone to accept was that he was currently engrossed in eating. Countless people exclaimed in admiration in their hearts when they saw this exquisite face. However, whenever their gazes fell on her side, the admiration on their faces would instantly turn into disgust. Belle could faintly feel the hostility the young lady had towards her, and after thinking for a while, she understood. The gazes of the surrounding youths fell on her from the beginning to the end. Presumably the girl was a little jealous. Those who stood close to him could clearly hear the sound of bones being crushed by his teeth. The faces of these people turned a little ugly. They quietly distanced themselves from this terrifying beast. She couldn't help but look at Ajio with sympathy. At this time, Belle would definitely not dodge to the side. She sat even straighter. "Master." The subordinate was shocked and immediately looked at Xie Guangzhong. The ripples around Tang Tian's body had already transformed into streams of air that revolved around Tang Tian at a high speed. Hissing sounds could be heard without end. Whoosh! He tossed the last pork elbow into his mouth. It was really a beautiful flower stuck in cow dung. Pa Tang Tian ignored the screaming girl in the gauze dress. He directly grabbed a pork knuckle and began to chomp on it as if there was no one else around. The bone-chilling sound of bones breaking could be heard clearly. Hoo, hoo. The sound of bones being crushed was like a sneer, and the middle-aged man's face immediately turned red. He was a reputable figure in Yong'an City. When had he ever received such treatment? Belle's smile was bewitching, but her heart was cold. The boss at the side was obviously enraged. "Sir, aren't you being too cruel and merciless to treat a little girl like this?" A middle-aged man stepped out from the crowd with a gloomy expression. He was the youth's father, and the two families had an extremely good relationship. Now that little Snow was being bullied, he naturally had to stand up. Tang Tian continued to chew on the pork shoulder. The aura that was being released from his body was increasing at an astonishing speed. Audio's eyes were filled with despair. Her charming smile, tranquil and elegant manner immediately made her the center of attention of the entire banquet. When an onyx soul horse wanted to gather information, they would often need to change their identity. Although Belle was usually loud and carefree, she was proficient in all sorts of disguises, and in such a banquet her performance could be said to be perfect. The people who were standing far away finally reacted. A table knife was nailed between the girl's index and middle fingers, all the way to the hilt. The knife stabbed the other half of the elbow. His true force stirred, and his aura burst forth without any restraint. Bang! Tang Tian was truly angry. He did not offend anyone today, but even when he was eating pork shoulder he was being disturbed. Tang Tian was minding his own business as he chewed on the pork shoulder, completely ignoring him. Although there were people causing trouble, but it did not affect Tang Tian's appetite at all. The pork shoulder was still so fragrant. If 10 portions of pork shoulder appeared in the banquet, it would be a disaster. The smell of the meat would drown the entire place. Tang Tian's eyes lit up, so it could be like that, and immediately said, "That's right. 10 portions, every portion needs to be double the meat sauce. Let's go together." Crack crack. "Don't be anxious, let's see the situation first." Xie Guangzhong shook his head. At such a time, not only would he not be able to quell the dispute, but it would also make things difficult. Everyone looked at young Master Xing in shock, as though they were looking at a terrifying gorilla chewing on the table, completely forgetting themselves. No, not only Heaven Road list martial artists. Audiobook had seen many Heaven Road list martial artists, but none of them had such a powerful aura that could suffocate people. Everyone's faces were pale white, the majority of them had ordinary strength, and it was as though their hearts were being held by an invisible hand. Their entire bodies were ice cold and they were trembling. The crowd was in an uproar and they spontaneously pulled apart. Although the middle-aged man was not the strongest in Yong'an City, but he was in the top 5. He had a deep relationship with one of the clan elders of Onyx Soul, and Audiobook, who was by his side, had unfathomable strength. What was even more terrifying was that the barbarian actually directly threw half of the pork shoulder into his mouth, causing everyone to stare blankly. Eating like that is not good for your body. Belle's gentle voice caused everyone's bones to soften. The waiter heaved a sigh of relief, but following that, Belle turned to the waiter and instructed gently, "Every portion of pork shoulder, please add double the sauce." "Thank you." Belle smiled and shook her head. Her actions were so graceful, causing a wave of sighs and jealousy. All the men looked at Tang Tian. Their gazes were extremely unhappy. They could not wait for Audiobook to teach the country bumpkin a lesson. Tang Tian's face was gloomy. He picked up another pork shoulder. Belle, who was smiling quietly, sat by his side. The splashing of meat juices and the bone-chomping sounds made people's hair stand. She was a goddess. The older nobles in the crowd all sighed. Such a good girl, it was a pity. But the young men were thinking even more. The goddess' quiet smile was filled with helplessness and sorrow. A few of the young men looked at each other. Belle, who was maintaining her composure perfectly, finally could not take it anymore. The smile on her face froze, the veins on her forehead twitching. Very quickly she felt the gazes from all around, filled with mockery and sympathy. 10 portions. Miss, please leave quickly. A young man saw Belle still sitting beside Tang Tian. He became anxious and immediately reminded her. "I hate it when people disturb me when I'm eating meat." Tang Tian's voice was like a nightmare enveloping the entire place. He slowly stood up and walked towards the middle-aged man. He did not even look at Audiobook. Audiobook's entire body was trembling, his face ashen, not daring to move. But when she saw the waiter's expression when he heard about 10 portions of pork shoulder, she was startled and almost burst out laughing. She suddenly felt that everything was extremely amusing. Belle turned her face. The enchanting smile in the waiter's eyes was like that of an angel. The waiter looked at Belle with a pleading look, hoping that Belle could stop the terrifying request. The silver spirit spiraling energy in Tang Tian's body was circulating at an astonishing speed, getting faster and faster. The aura around his body continued to rise. The surrounding air started to form ripples. "Wait a minute. Where's the bone? Where's the bone in the middle of the pork shoulder?" In such a high-class banquet, there was actually such a barbaric and crude person. She could not help but smile towards such a little girl's thoughts. She did not care. "I hate pork shoulder." An unhappy voice suddenly came out. Audiobook's face was pale white, his eyes filled with fear. Xianxia immediately burst out crying. Like a storm suddenly exploding, the air in the banquet hall swept past a ripple that could be seen with the naked eye. Belle rarely wore female clothing today. It was a blue evening dress accentuating her figure to the fullest. Her snow-white shoulders were half exposed, her sexy collarbone could be clearly seen, her face had a light smile sitting beside Tang Tian. No matter who saw her current appearance, they would not be able to link her to a silver onyx soul horse. Even cats and dogs dare to bully me. A young lady dressed in a snow-white gauze dress appeared at Tang Tian's table, pouting her lips, her face full of dissatisfaction. The young lady's appearance was rather outstanding, her skin was even fairer than Belle's, cute and slightly naive, only her seemingly harmless eyes flashed a trace of craftiness. Thank you all, this is definitely a good opportunity to express my loyalty. When the 10 portions of sauce pork shoulder appeared in the banquet hall, the rich meat fragrance filled every corner of the banquet hall. The entire banquet hall became quiet for a short period of time. The guests who were holding onto their wine cups turned their faces in astonishment. Gotcha. The mournful screams caused everyone's heart to tremble. Since you like to eat so much, then I will let you eat your fill. The middle-aged man said coldly, Audiobook, feed him. Don't think that with just a mere 1.5 billion you can be impudent in Yong'an City. The young lady in the gauze dress's face changed, her jealousy became denser, her hands grabbed onto the tablecloth and was about to flip the table. Tell me, how do you want to settle this? However, not everyone was as calm as he was. Many people's gazes towards Tang Tian started to change. Tang Tian's blade displayed an extremely high standard. The young lady's palm was originally small. When she grabbed onto the tablecloth, the space between her index finger and the middle was extremely small. The knife accurately stabbed into the middle, but did not hurt the young lady. His eyesight and hand strength was extremely shocking. He almost swallowed his tongue. The waiter was dumbstruck. The entire place was dead silent. Only Tang Tian's cold greeting could be heard. Tang Tian walked to the middle-aged man and stopped. Xia Guangzhong could not help but feel a headache. He never thought that young Master Xing would actually be like that. If he knew that young Master Xing would cause so much trouble, he would seriously consider inviting young Master Xing to the banquet. Sky Treasure Room Banquet. A man with an indifferent expression stood out. The middle-aged man's face, because of the excessive fear, became extremely sinister. She was stunned until the cold blade caused all the hairs on her body to stand. Her face became white and she screamed out, "Ah!" Belle's smile caused her gentleness and tranquility to have a trace of unyielding heroism. She was an independent person and was used to seeing storms and waves and was far from the pampered little girls. If we were to say that Belle was like a flower in the wind and rain, gentle and beautiful, causing people to feel pity for her, then this laugh caused people to feel, under her delicate appearance, there was a trace of strength causing people to feel respect. She must have fallen into the hands of that barbarian. Xianxia. Belle hypnotized herself. Crack. After finishing one portion, he was still not satisfied. He looked around. Seeing a waiter, he immediately waved his hand and asked for 10 portions. It was the first time he had encountered such delicious pork knuckle, and Tang Tian was eating happily, but in the end it spoiled his mood, causing him to be extremely angry. And for the other party to mention 1.5 billion, it meant that they had long set their eyes on him. The extremely ugly orangutan mask in the middle-aged man's eyes was like a demon that crawled out from hell. Tang Tian's 5 fingers were like steel pincers, grabbing onto the middle-aged man's chin, and lightly dragged him in front of him. The 5 fingers were like steel pincers. The face that was contorted due to fear was so weak, as though it would explode with just a light pinch. This was definitely the best pork knuckle he had ever eaten. Audiobook could no longer maintain his indifference. His face changed. He had rich battle experience, but it was the first time he had encountered such a terrifying chi, and in his mind a word surfaced: Heaven Road List Martial Artist. Belle, who was seated at the side, was extremely shocked, her skin even releasing a piercing pain. Chapter 299. Elderly clapped his hands and laughed, a look of satisfaction flashing past his face. That's all I have, it's just a small matter. Brother Xing is young and heroic. I wonder where did you strike it rich? The composition of the clan union was the most complicated. Most of them were the new families. These families urgently needed their own position, but were always suppressed by the aristocratic families, So the clan union was a loose organization to them. It was extremely attractive. That's right. Fatty Lee said, Lupus Constellation has 3 powerhouses: Silver Moon, Heaven Hook, Feudal Marshal. Feudal Marshal's backing is the clan union. Silver Moon was defeated by Feudal Marshal, and Heaven Hook's backing is 2 Ru Hai. Tang Tian immediately released a carefree laugh. The hand that was pinching the middle-aged man's chin turned into a support, and straightened the middle-aged man up. Ayaya, it really is an exchange of blows. So the flood rushed towards the temple of the Dragon King. Our own people drowned our own people. Xia Guangzhong swallowed his saliva with difficulty. He was one of the few people present that could still think. He knew that he needed to re-evaluate young Master Xing. In his eyes, the new powerhouses were just a good customer. A nouveau riche with a strong source of wealth was not scary, but if the nouveau riche was strong, then that was scary. If he had a ruthless and decisive personality, then it was not scary but terrifying. Fatty Lee's gaze landed on the middle-aged man, and the smile on his face disappeared. Young Master Xing is my friend. You have offended young Master Xing. Tell me, what do you plan to do? Elderly laughed out loud. Brother, you are too humble to dare use 1.5 billion to build a Blood Meridian's laboratory. If this is called messing around, then how can we endure it? Come, let me introduce you to a friend. He turned his body and signaled a middle-aged man beside him to come forward. The 2 Ru Hai supported Huai by Hua. Then that meant that he had another problem. He clapped his hands. He had a deep impression of the lady who used the sword. Although she did not use her sword, the cold sword intent was extremely threatening. But what was old Mo doing here? After a gentle breeze and drizzle, the oppressive atmosphere was swept away, and the banquet returned to normal. That's right. Fatty Lee's spirit was roused. After Meng Wei fought with brother, she rushed to Lupus Constellation that night. 2 Ru Hai is extremely passionate about the treasures of Southern Cross Constellation, and has sent all 6 guards planning to win the battle. Master? Heaven Hook Huai by Hua's backer is 2 Ru Hai? Tang Tian's tone sank. I have nothing to say about Brother Xing's spirit and breadth of mind. Fatty Lee gave a thumbs up to Tang Tian and laughed bitterly. This old bro has suffered a lot from the 6 guards and has recruited many experts, but no one can fight with Meng Wei. I originally had 3 cities, but 2 of them were taken by 2 Ru Hai. This enmity and hatred cannot be shared. As expected of the hero who made the 2 family 6 guards retreat. Oh, that's right. Who are the 2 family 6 guards that elder brother mentioned just now? Tang Tian remembered the name that elderly mentioned just now and quickly asked. When Fatty Lee heard the faint killing intent in Tang Tian's tone, he couldn't help but feel delighted. His mind was extremely nimble, and with a quick thought he secretly guessed that the power that young Master Xing was in was most likely participating in the Battle of Lupus Constellation, and was obviously not on 2 Ru Hai's side. Tang Tian's face change was stiff and abrupt, extremely inferior, but he did not notice it at all. Everyone's expression was as though they had swallowed a fly. Mo Wei Tian's eyes flashed a look of surprise. Actually, when he entered the door, he felt that Tang Tian's figure was somewhat familiar, but he could not remember. Although he felt weird, he maintained a smile on his face and said politely, "Hello, young Master Xing." The situation in front of him, how should he solve it? Without any nonsense, without the slightest warning, such a method, such a murderous nature, just what kind of person could have such a thing? Tang Tian seemed to be deep in thought, but his mouth said, "Hello, Mr. Mo." The 2 family 6 guards, in his eyes Tang Tian was even more mysterious and unfathomable. Tang Tian's heart trembled and immediately asked, "Don't tell me it has something to do with 2 Ru Hai?" Elder Lee's small eyes squinted. Spending 1.5 billion to build a Blood Meridian's laboratory, but not to do Blood Meridian's business. The information that was revealed was somewhat thought-provoking. Xie Guangzhong's mouth felt bitter. "Don't tell me it's the clan union?" Elder Lee said indifferently. To make a mistake you have to pay the price. 1.5 billion. I can't let Brother Xing come here for nothing. Elder Lee could read people's hearts, hearing Tang Tian praising Meng Wei's strength, but his tone did not have any fear. His heart was secretly happy. To be able to use such a calm tone to evaluate, that meant that Tang Tian's own strength was not inferior to Meng Wei's. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. "So brother is the Lord of Yong'an City, you're so powerful." Meng Wei. Tang Tian nodded his head. "That lady's strength is truly strong. Elder, please spare me." He immediately begged. Mo Wei Tian nodded his head. "I've heard of it. Just then Mo Wei Tian, who was by the side, immediately consoled him. The future is long, it's just a matter of time, City Lord, do not worry. He had underestimated this young Master Xing. Seems like his background was deeper than he had imagined. Spending 1.5 billion to build a Blood Meridian's laboratory, but not intending to use it for profit no matter what his goal was, it was definitely done by a big powerhouse, because only a big powerhouse would be able to withstand such a large expenditure. This Mr. Mo is the current patriarch of the mechanical aristocratic Mo family, Mo Wei Tian. Regardless of what Fatty Li's goal was, Tang Tian was still indebted to him. Fatty Li's heart was filled with joy. He did not make a sound and gave 2 Ru Hai Samai medicine and even gained a favor. His mood was naturally good. He laughed out loud and changed the topic. The matters of Lupus constellation are for the big figures to worry about. Us small figures are better off playing with low-end things. Patriarch Mo, today all the big figures of Yong'an City are here. Patriarch Mo's treasure, do not hide it. Why not let everyone see it? Mo Wei Tian smiled. Then I will do as you say. The middle-aged man's face was ashen. He initially thought that Elder Li would be able to save him. But he was in charge of the family business and his ability was not ordinary. In front of absolute power, he had no way to resist, but Elder Li's words made him understand. Belle, who was beside Tang Tian, had a cold face. Such an important news, and she actually did not have any information. Tang Tian did not blame Belle, although Belle was an outstanding onyx soul horse, but her information channels compared to the clan elders were like heaven and earth. Young Master Xing, exactly where did he come from? Hearing that, everyone's face changed and the way they looked at Tang Tian became different. The 2 family 6 guards were famous, every one of them had unfathomable strength. This young Master Xing actually dared to make a move against the 2 family 6 guards and was still unharmed. That strength. Xie Guangzhong was about to stand out, when suddenly a round of applause came out from the door. Thank you, old brother, for your kindness, but temporarily I do not have any plans to do Blood Meridian's business. Tang Tian explained. I was too careless. The fatty laughed out loud, waved his hands, ignoring Xie Guangzhong. Ignoring the middle-aged man, he walked in front of Tang Tian, his face full of admiration. He laughed. It's been so many years since I have met a young man who dares to make a move against the 2 family 6 guards. The one surnamed 2 is my enemy. If you make a move against him, then we are friends. Xie Guangzhong had a headache, but he knew he had to step up. This was his territory and both parties were invited by him, so it was not his business if they were to fight. But if anyone died here, it would be a huge blow to the Sky Treasure Room's reputation. 1.5 billion. When Tang Tian saw who it was, he jumped in fright. It seems like little brother does not know about the 2 family 6 guards. Elder Li said solemnly, the 2 family 6 guards are the 6 experts under 2 Ru Hai. Humph, 2 Ru Hai, this person is extremely ambitious, his methods are cruel. The 6 guards under him, all of them are strong, killing people everywhere. The most infamous one is the head of the 6 guards, Meng Wei. Her sword techniques are unfathomable. Who knows how many strong martial artists have died under her sword. The killing intent enveloped the entire place, and Tang Tian, who was grabbing onto the middle-aged man's chin, was like a killing god. Master, save me. The middle-aged man, as though he was grabbing onto a life-saving straw, shouted unclearly. Seeing the familiar face in front of him, Tang Tian was slightly embarrassed. To be able to meet someone he knew in such a place. But could old Mo be the god of wealth? The last time he had earned 5 billion from the Mo family, and now that he had met old Mo, he had earned another 1.5 billion. That was highly possible. Thank you, old brother. Tang Tian cupped his hands towards Fatty Li and thanked him. This news was extremely important to him. 2 family 6 guards? Tang Tian was at a loss, but the fatty in front of him looked harmless. But the chi around him was faintly discernible, causing Tang Tian's heart to shiver. Yes, City Master. Everyone immediately replied. Only the fat clan elder Li laughed and waved his hand for the middle-aged man to leave. Old brother Xing is right. In the future, when old brother comes to Yong'an, just treat it as your own home. All of you have to be clear. In the future, whatever treatment I receive, young Master Xing will receive. Tang Tian's actions shocked everyone present. Xie Guangzhong's face changed. This young Master Xing actually fought with the 2 family 6 guards and was completely fine, but he himself did not know about it. Could it be that old brother is planning to dabble in the Blood Meridian's business? Clan Elder Li's face was filled with concern. Old brother, I do have some connections here. If there is anything you need, old brother, please do not be courteous. Me. Tang Tian shook his head and said honestly, I don't have any business, I just go around messing around. When everyone saw who it was, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Xie Guangzhong jogged and came in front of the fatty. You didn't even tell us that you were coming, we were not prepared. A group of people appeared at the door. The leader was a fatty with a short stature, every part of his body was round, he had a smile on his face, looking friendly and harmless. The middle-aged man's heart trembled. To him 1.5 billion, it was not that he could not afford it, but it still made him feel pain from the bottom of his heart. But he knew that he could not reject and clenched his teeth. Master is right. Clan elderly laughed bitterly. Speaking about this Zhou Xian, I cannot help but admire him. He is insidious and determined. Every time he makes a move, it always makes people fearful. The Battle of Lupus Constellation, have the two of you heard of it? Chapter 300. The crowd's discussion became even louder. A mechanical weapon stepped onto the drums and entered the banquet grounds. Mo Wei Tian's face was brimming with confidence. His voice was not loud, but everyone could hear him. Mo Wei Tian's glib tongue made everyone's eyes light up. He laughed. What kind of army is that? It should just be a motley crew. It was the first time they had seen such a beautiful mechanical weapon. And everyone, what's so good about such a standard mechanical spirit weapon? It simply exists for the sake of the army. Think about it, a mechanical spirit weapon that is completely the same with common parts, familiar with each other, training together. It is very convenient to come up with tactics. Such convenience, can Star Treasures provide it? Everyone present was not surprised, although the current generation of mechanical techniques had declined, but the Mo family was a mechanical aristocratic family and everyone knew a little. The crowd immediately went into an uproar. It's a chaotic world. If we do not have the ability to protect ourselves, no matter how much money we have, it will only make us lambs on the chopping board. Fatty Lee said indifferently, do we lack money? Not at all, but we still have to look at other people's faces. The reason why Zhou Xian was able to snatch 2 cities from my hands is because his fists are stronger than mine. This logic I believe everyone understands. This is an era-defining mechanical weapon. To differentiate it from the previous mechanical spirit weapons, we have named it a mechanical spirit weapon. For it, our Mo family has spent generations of blood, sweat and tears, and spent countless star coins to finally form it. Mo Wei Tian's tone was solemn, his face full of sincerity. What a beautiful mechanical weapon. But I want to use the profits from these 1,000 sets to do business with young master. Beautiful. What flaws? Someone in the crowd could not help but ask. They were completely moved by Mo Wei Tian. As long as we insert the spirit card, we can use it? Someone in the crowd asked. Everyone gradually quietened down. Mo Wei Tian's words shocked everyone to death. Mayor Li's meaning is to buy all 1,000 sets, all of them. That way his Yong'an army will be unique. But Mo Wei Tian obviously did not want Tang Tian to be calm, and dropped a heavy bomb. Tang Tian's expression froze as he looked at the mechanical weapon. Isn't this just like thunder snow? He almost jumped up. Hey, the design plan has been sold to you, you guys should at least adjust it a little. Once the bronze mechanical weapon appeared, it caused a commotion. How much does it cost? An experienced and prudent person asked. Mechanical spirit weapons? Is it related to martial spirits? Someone in the crowd asked curiously. This suggestion immediately caused a huge uproar. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. You guys have no morals and no limits. Sai Lei's design had not been changed at all. It was exactly the same. He even copied my name. That's enough. Everyone was stunned and then an uproar broke out. Mo Wei Tian's gaze swept across the crowd and said regretfully, but Mo Lei still has a fatal flaw. Oh my god, is this robbery? Just at this time, Fatty Li sighed and suddenly said to Tang Tian, Old brother Xing has been paying close attention to the situation of Lupus Constellation. I think you know that Tang Tian has an army under him. My god. Martial spirit. This is simply unbelievable. Everyone was speechless. After everyone had calmed down, Mo Wei Tian then said, 20 million star coins, you can buy a decent northern sky grade silver star treasure. But everyone think about it, which star treasure can increase the power of your martial techniques, provide you with a star treasure grade defense, and also provide you with 3 types of martial techniques that you do not need to learn? The entire body of the azure blue mechanical weapon was slender and nimble. The joints were made up of layers of scales and looked extremely agile. The arms, calves and thighs were made up of large pieces of metal that were repeatedly forged, and the layers of forging patterns were like water ripples. Two sharp legs extended from its back to its thighs, forming an X shape. I guessed it was young master. Mo Wei Tian chuckled and changed the topic. Young master is truly a hero, to be able to play with everyone in the palm of your hand. Tang Tian's eyes turned red. That was 2 billion star coins of profit. You guys did not change at all. That's not good. Such a powerful weapon, of course it will not be cheap. Its price is 20 million star coins. Mo Wei Tian said firmly. That's right. Mo Wei Tian's face was full of praise. The biggest difference between a mechanical spirit weapon and an ordinary mechanical weapon is that it has a martial spirit. Thus, it becomes smarter, more nimble, able to complete even more complicated movements, and its power is even stronger. 200 sets. The banquet area was cleared out and everyone stretched their necks out curiously. Especially for Xie Guangzhong, who had followed the city master for a long time. He knew that the city master was very picky, and that some of the seemingly normal actions had a deeper meaning. Tang Tian was dumbstruck. Old Mo was too powerful. Master. Which of our businesses are not bestowed by master? Whatever decision master has, please understand we will follow master's lead. At this time, the middle-aged man who was extorted by Tang Tian just now stood up, and said in high spirits. His face did not have a hint of disappointment. The middle-aged man was the first to speak. I pledge my life to follow master. In the middle of the venue, Thundersnow, oh no, he was now called Ink Snow, was currently completing a high-difficulty technique, extremely fast and nimble steps, causing the crowd to exclaim in surprise. Behind the orangutan mask, Tang Tian's face kept on twitching. Can you guys be any more shameless? And after generations of blood, sweat and tears. Hee. Mo Wei Tian was not the least bit ashamed, but rather pleased. City Masterly has already given me an order for 200 sets. The three big powers are starting to compete. What do you guys think? Fatty Li retorted. Don't think that we are backed by Onyx Soul, but everyone is clear the reason why Yong'an City can be where it is today is because we open our doors to do business. If we only do Onyx Soul business, everyone's pockets will shrink by at least half. Mo Wei Tian quietly sat beside Tang Tian and said in a soft voice, Young Master Xing, why don't you evaluate Ink Snow? The other businesses all followed suit. Fatty Li's authority in Yong'an City was far greater than anyone could imagine. The prices of goods have already risen to the point where there are mechanical weapons worth 20 million. Seeing this, Tang Tian was already convinced. This rascal was a natural-born businessman, and his eloquence was astonishing. Ink Snow. Tang Tian almost vomited blood. Thundersnow, you are so pitiful. This is definitely an epic-making masterpiece. Fatty Li looked at him with admiration and coughed lightly. I was also moved by Tang Tian's army. Even Tang Tian can create an army, then why don't we create one? How can it compare to your Mo family's blood, sweat and tears? Tang Tian retorted sarcastically. Faced with everyone's condemnation, Mo Wei Tian's expression was calm. Not one bit flustered. Indeed, an ordinary northern sky-grade silver star treasure would definitely not be able to do this. Hey, you guys are a mechanical aristocratic family. You guys should be very proud. You guys should be very proud. Everyone's face changed. Other than that, it has a special device that transcends the era, and that is its card slot. You can insert 3 6th-level spirit cards, and this will allow you to use these 3 martial techniques. Of course, don't expect it to allow you to be proficient in it, but think about it. In your martial technique library, there will be 3 more trump cards. Your tactics will be greatly enriched. The crowd was in an uproar. Mo Wei Tian's meaning was clear. Don't think that it is too expensive. There are only 1,000 sets, and it is not something that you can buy whenever you want. It is suitable for 6th-level martial artists to use. It can perfectly release all the power of your martial techniques. It is beyond your imagination. Looking at its footwork with its high agility, it is suitable for most light body techniques. You can even equip it with specialized weapons, and we can provide custom-made services. Its defensive strength has reached the standard of a southern sky-grade silver star treasure. You don't have to worry about your safety. Master, do you have any accurate news? Someone asked anxiously. Tang Tian personally witnessed this scene and could not help but sigh. A motley crew can cause 1 death and 1 injury to 2 Heaven Road list martial artists. Then I also want this motley crew. Fatty Li sighed. Thinking about my Yong'an city, the trade routes are prosperous, everyone here who is not rich. But, now is not the time of peace, everyone knows about Lupus constellation. Let me tell you, the current situation is going to be chaotic. That's right, all of them were rich, but they could only flaunt their prowess in front of ordinary people, in front of experts. They could not even raise their heads. Forming an army. It's too expensive. Tang Tian was stunned. He could actually say that. Today was definitely an eye-opener for him. He was now in awe of Mo Wei Tian. This rascal's mouth could make the dead come alive. Hearing that, Tang Tian knew that the other party recognized him and said softly, "Old Mo, you recognized me?" "Yes. As long as it is 6th level and the spirit cards do not conflict with each other, it can be used." Mo Wei Tian smiled. Tang Tian was also confused. In the end, he blamed it on Mo Wei Tian being too wretched. Mo Wei Tian said bitterly, "To create the ink thunder, we need a special alloy which we no longer have in stock, which also means we can only produce 1,000 sets of ink thunder." Tang Tian was completely stunned. 20 million star coins. He had thought that this rascal was an unscrupulous businessman, but he did not expect him to be so unscrupulous. No one knew better than him how much the ink snow cost for million star coins. Not knowing why, Tang Tian could not help but think that every time Bing talked about them, he liked to use the word motley crew. This is our Mo family's newest mechanical weapon called ink snow. Mo Wei Tian's face was full of confidence and smiled. Tang Tian felt as though it was the first time he met Mo Wei Tian. This rascal looked dignified, but his bones were so wretched. Tang Tian was shocked. This fatty's ambition was much bigger than he thought. Tang Tian ridiculed a few words, and his state of mind had already calmed down. Speaking of which, the Mo family was considered his ally. If the Mo family earned more, it would be beneficial to him. In a blink of an eye, this rascal sold it for 20 million star coins. That was crazy. Mo Wei Tian's face was calm as he enjoyed everyone's exclamations and praises. Tang Tian could not help but feel unhappy looking at him. Logically speaking, this rascal also spent a few billion to buy it. Why was he so unhappy? Chapter 301. Tang Tian almost gave himself a slap. Was his brain caught in the door? He actually thought of buying 16 billion star treasures for Old Man Fei. Alright, Tang Tian felt that his brain was indeed caught in the door. Wrong, it was 16 billion that knocked him out. Sai Lei was busy building the bronze base and Tang Tian was also busy to the point of dizziness. After eating the 10 pork knuckles, Tang Tian had already eaten till his stomach was round. There was no more space in his stomach, and could only sip on the sour and sweet drink, his entire body releasing a lazy smell. Fatty Li was surrounded by a group of people. Everyone knew the Yong'an army was already set in stone. To the future Yong'an city, the position of the Yong'an army was without a doubt. Then how to prove their position was something that every family had to consider. A group of people? Seeing Tang Tian and Mo Wei Tian who were chatting leisurely, he sat down and laughed bitterly. "You two are so free, I am already sweating all over." Although it was a battle in a remote corner, but these 2 battles had caused a huge uproar. Tang Tian was then enlightened, but he did not understand, why did all these people say that the world of chaos was coming? But thinking about it, what did the world of chaos have to do with him? His goal was to quickly go to Southern Cross constellation to find Xia. How could a poor kid see 16 billion? Thinking about the 1.5 billion he had just earned, he was happy. Country bumpkin, definitely a country bumpkin. 1,000 sets of mechanical spirit weapons, that was 16 billion. That was an astronomical number. It could buy the entire Corvus constellation, could unify Lupus constellation, could buy 1,000 over Northern Sky grade silver treasures, could buy Old Man Fei 50 over gold treasures. No one interfered, it was Tang Tian's men. This onyx soul horse was also excited. At dawn, Crane suddenly appeared at Wu Taiyu's campsite to challenge him, and Wu Taiyu accepted. The battle was extremely intense. Wu Taiyu was killed by Crane's sword, and many martial artists personally witnessed the battle. Ling Su's situation is unclear. So far we have investigated Huai Bai Hua and his disciple Hua Yang. Both died under Ling Su's spear. Mo Wei Tian was right. It had to be said that Fatty's methods were superb. In half an hour he had broken free from the crowd. Right at this moment, a subordinate suddenly rushed into the venue in a hurry. Tang Tian was doing a deep self-reflection. He didn't know that there was no such thing as a free lunch. No one expected that Tang Tian, who everyone thought was a pawn, a fuse and a primer, did not follow the path they had predicted. Instead he took the initiative and stepped onto the card table. Mo Wei Tian quivered, regained his senses and hurriedly said, "I was lost in thought thinking about some things. By the way, young master, does Master Sai Lei have any new works?" Tang Tian shook his head. "I don't know about that, you just have to go to Three Spirit City, she is there." He knew that Tang Tian had 2 Sky List experts under him, but he did not expect them to be so powerful. "What are you trying to do?" Tang Tian's tone carried a hint of warning. Having personally witnessed old Mo's unscrupulous conduct, he was filled with vigilance towards this old fellow. Tang Tian was dumbstruck as he listened. "Think so too." Fatty Li was not surprised at all. With such a beautiful lady like Miss Bell, how can an ordinary lady enter brother's eyes? Mo Wei Tian was surprised. "About 400 to 500 people," Mo Wei Tian said. Fatty Li, who had just picked up his knife and fork, his face congealed and unknowingly put down his knife and fork. Although Tang Tian did not seem to be in a good situation, but he actually had the mood to come to Yong'an City, he was full of confidence. The chaotic noises in the hall seemed to have disappeared. Mo Wei Tian said helplessly, "What can we do? Real experts the Mo family is unable to recruit, we can only rely on numbers. In this chaotic world, if we do not have the strength to protect ourselves, we will not be far from death." The first domino fell, but it fell in a direction that no one could have imagined. The small fry that everyone had neglected had completely messed up the situation. What news that he had to personally send it over. This was after all a world where the strong ruled, the strong were the true axes of the world. All the wealth, power, reputation all revolved around the strong. "You also want to create a mechanical army?" Tang Tian somewhat understood. If Tang Tian could break out of this, he would definitely become the focus of the world. Tang Tian was so young, his future achievements would definitely be limitless. Mo Wei Tian nodded his head. "Once this is over, I will go." He planned to personally go to Three Spirit City. This matter was extremely important to the Mo family. With such a huge sum of money involved, Tang Tian actually did not personally make the decision, but asked him to find his subordinates to discuss. He could only think of 2 possibilities. One was that the instructor of the training camp was a core member. The other was, in Tang Tian's eyes, 16 billion was not a huge sum of money. This thought was immediately eliminated. To personally go to the Mo family to promote 5 billion worth of materials, they should not be rich. Little Crane and Little Sue were actually so ferocious. How many days had he left? "I'll take the money card, young lady, you don't have to," Tang Tian said lazily. He was too full. "City Lord's call, heroes have gathered." Mo Wei Tian praised. Tang Tian was very clear of his own abilities. The school tyrant's small extortion and extortion, he was very good at it. Just like the 1.5 billion just now, the sum was slightly bigger, but it was still a small extortion and extortion. But after personally witnessing Mo Wei Tian's treachery, Tang Tian felt that it was better to let the equally treacherous Bing handle it. There shouldn't be a problem. Tang Tian thought, "Go to Three Spirit City, find the instructor of the training camp, you guys can discuss the price." Mo Wei Tian did not even look at Tang Tian and laughed. "With City Lord's prestige throwing out an olive branch, what kind of people can't you recruit?" The place immediately quietened down. Everyone realized that something was wrong. And the old men beside the City Lord all recognized the man. He was the leader of the Onyx Soul Horses under the City Lord. Others might have suspected that the Southern Cross Constellation's Saint treasure was in Tang Tian's hands, but Mo Wei Tian knew it was not a baseless rumor. Inside Sai Lei's mechanical spirit weapons, there were a lot of Southern Cross Constellation mechanical techniques. Fatty Li was startled but immediately reacted. His expression became agitated. Who interfered? Were these 2 fellows on steroids? Tang Tian looked like he was in deep trouble, but seeing his improvement, Mo Wei Tian was shocked. Seeing Fatty Li sit at Tang Tian's table, the restless crowd immediately stopped in their tracks. Everyone's gaze swept across Tang Tian, their faces revealing an unnatural expression. That orangutan mask looked as though it could swallow anyone at any time, filled with an unreasonable ruthlessness and ruthlessness. Mo Wei Tian wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Eloquent people were most afraid of meeting unreasonable people. He had seen Tang Tian's ruthlessness before. Upon hearing Tang Tian's impatient tone, he knew something was wrong and immediately said, Young master, please calm down. Actually, I really want to send another batch of people to the training camp. Everyone knew no matter how the dispute ended, it would definitely cause a chain reaction. But all of the guesses, the main characters revolved around the three big powerhouses. The heavens have mercy. He suddenly realized what he said previously was the best choice. The Mo family was Tang Tian's best ally. Tang Tian had superb mechanical techniques, and was not interested in the low-end mechanical spirit weapons, which was coincidentally what the Mo family needed. Tang Tian's wealth was not robust enough. The Mo family was rich. More importantly, Tang Tian was not only a Heaven Road list martial artist, he had 2 Heaven Road list martial artists under him and an army. Bullshit. Even through the gray crystal mirror, Tang Tian's mocking gaze was extremely clear. What kind of thigh am I? You will not be able to hug my thigh. Young master is belittling yourself. Mo Wei Tian smiled and lowered his voice. Young master is a person who single-handedly incited chaos in the world. Lupus Constellation will be young master's backyard in the future. Although it is a little barren, but the lupus race is a natural-born battle race. Young master will definitely have no problem in dominating a region. The person rushed in front of Fatty Li, his face revealing excitement. Master, the latest news from Lupus Constellation. After carefully combing through, Mo Wei Tian suddenly realized that Tang Tian actually had so many bargaining chips in his hands. Fatty Li pushed over a few money cards and said to Tang Tian, "He is still considered tactful. The money cards are already prepared. Brother Xing, don't bother with him. His family's young lady is not bad, quite fresh and lively. Are you interested? To be able to climb up to you? A pity I don't have a daughter." What direction would the situation be heading towards? No one could see it clearly. That was a wild beast. Even if it was full with a bit of laziness, the wild beast's savage aura could not be erased. Fatty Li stuffed a piece of cake into his mouth without a care for his image and quickly swallowed it, wiping his lips. An army is truly not that easy to build. In just a short while I am already in a terrible mess. That Tang Tian, his luck is really good, to actually have such a talent under him. How far can he grow? Tang Tian saw that Mo Wei Tian was silent, and did not speak for a long time and felt weird. Is there a problem? In the eyes of everyone who was paying attention to the dispute, Tang Tian and the rest were just the first domino. Mo Wei Tian looked at Tang Tian aghast. Fatty Li's eyes lit up and said, "Speak." Mo Wei Tian's thoughts immediately became clear. Everyone went crazy. Mo Wei Tian, who had always felt that his foresight was good, realized that he was completely unable to give an estimate. Tang Tian's current strength, although he was not the best in Southern Sky, but without a doubt he was at the top of Southern Sky. With his strength in Northern Sky's 19 continents, being a small tyrant was not a problem. I hate people lying to me the most. Tang Tian was slightly annoyed and said in an unfriendly tone, "Don't beat around the bush with me." This person was dressed in martial artist attire, his face was covered in dust. Obviously he had just experienced a long journey. He had always been paying attention to the battle, and the first thought that appeared in his mind was, this time everyone was going crazy. Tang Tian could not help but sit up straight. Wu Taiyu and Huai Bai Hua are dead. Fatty Li's face surfaced a look of disbelief, and after a while he suddenly laughed out loud. "Ha! Turuhai. No matter how you schemed, you would never have thought that Tang Tian would actually be so ferocious. Interesting. I originally thought that he was the weakest, but he is actually so strong. This situation is interesting." Mo Wei Tian glanced at Fatty Li, who was in the distance, and revealed a bitter smile. The chaotic world is a storm, no one can avoid it. The Mo family is just a small boat and needs to hug onto someone. Chapter 302. 2 Family 6 Guards? Never heard of them. Ling Su shook his head. "Big blockhead, did you suffer a loss 2 days ago?" The amethyst lady asked curiously. Crane had a look of helplessness as he corrected her. "After 3 days, I have to look at you in a different light." "Yes, in Yong'an City." The tall and sturdy man scratched his head embarrassedly. "The 6 of them are all Heaven Road list martial artists." Tang Tian said, "The lowest rank is within the top 9,000, the highest is 8511. "That's right." Qiu Zhijun's mouth revealed a smile. Sima Zhao's face congealed. He finished reading the report in his hands. The fight between Crane and Wu Taiyu was extremely detailed, but the fight between Ling Su and Huai Bai Hua did not have any details. "I will handle Tang Tian." Meng Wei took the most difficult opponent and continued, Old Jun 2 will handle Crane, Single Blade will handle Ling Su. The three of you handle Tang Tian's army. I heard that their army is commanded by a spirit general. Be careful, we have never fought against an army before. Although Wu Taiyu's strength was not bad, but in Sima Zhao's eyes he was not a true expert. If he wanted to kill Wu Taiyu it would be easy. The clan elders of the Sima family all had unfathomable strength. My bones are still strong. Although the old granny said that, she was still happy in her heart. Today's weather is good, the flowers are blooming well. Xiaoyu, go get a jug of wine, I will drink it myself. Qiu Zhijun finally understood. He was very clear of his junior brother's personality. Every move was linked. There would definitely be a killing move, so the real killing move was here. It's good too. Qiu Zhijun nodded his head. He glanced at his junior brother, who was carefully reading the report in his hands, his eyes revealing a bright light. Crane was still relatively calm. From the looks of it, Ling Su and Crane's strength should be around 8,800. The purple-haired lady spoke. On her forehead there was a purple crystal. Sima Xiao laughed. Which expert did it? Old Feng was an onyx soul horse, his face congealed. I do not know yet, but I have already sent people to investigate. Yes. Everyone replied in unison. Then your son will go first. Sima Xiao said goodbye to the old lady. However, he was actually killed in a direct confrontation. When he walked out of the courtyard, the smile on his face disappeared and his eyes turned cold. Did you go to Fatty Li's territory? Fatty Li doesn't have any powerful guys under him. The purple crystal woman asked inexplicably. The first branch and the second branch were finished. His impression of Ling Su was even less. The first and second branches have sent someone to plead for leniency. Qiu Zhijun said indifferently. They suffered a setback previously, so this time they gathered all their strength and attacked Scorpion Tiger Valley. The towering man grinned and said, it's more exciting to fight with an opponent of the same level. It's really boring to always fight those rookies. Sima Xiao did not stop them. When he was young, for the sake of raising him, his mother had accumulated a cold poison, and often had to drink alcohol to warm her body. Looking at his mother's aged complexion, Sima Zhao's heart turned sour, and helped his mother to tuck in the blanket on her knees. It's a chilly spring, the cold air in the spring is heavy, mother needs to be more careful. Ling Su's face changed, even the usually calm Crane's expression congealed. When the old granny heard that, she looked at her own son in a daze. Although her son didn't seem to have changed much compared to 2 years ago, although he still had a gentle smile on his face, there was an additional layer of mist that could never be seen through in the depths of his eyes that were as bright as the stars. That was the result of all these years of suffering. Everyone's face became even uglier. Just at that time, Xiaoyu brought the wine. Sima Xiao poured it for the old granny and said calmly, if your son wants to be, naturally he can be. Seeing his senior brother's smile, Sima Xiao became angry and snorted, I want to see the detailed report. Crane, this unfamiliar name, Sima Xiao did not have much of an impression of him, and only knew that he was Tang Tian's subordinate and came from a small sect. As he is the boss of the three. Old Feng explained. Old Feng mocked, forget it, you even suffered a loss 2 days ago. Thinking about the report that he had just received, Qiu Zhijun suddenly felt good, his pale white face revealing a smile. She suddenly said, I heard that recently a few branches have come to find you? It's not Fatty Li, Meng Wei interrupted. Let's not talk about other matters, let's arrange the tasks now. Her junior brother's personality would definitely not give them the chance to breathe. The prey that was targeted by her junior brother had never survived, other than. It was the season when the peach blossoms were in full bloom. The entire garden was filled with the colors of spring. Meng Wei was still on the road when she received the report. The 6 of them sat around the table, all of their faces ugly. In their hands was the report of the battle between Ling Su and Huai Baihua. Others did not have the details of the battle between Ling Su and Huai Baihua, but they did. They met a fist saint. Qiu Zhijun glanced at Tang Tian and said indifferently, almost all of them were wiped out. 8,511. I never thought that Lacerda constellation would have such a terrifying martial artist. Sima Xiao was surprised. Crane did not sneak attack but directly invited and killed Wu Taiyu. Everyone was enlightened. That's right, normally the boss of a group would always be the strongest person. In this world the strong were respected. It's rare for me to come back. I have always been outside for the past few years, and did not have the time to serve mother. Sima Xiao said respectfully. His usual mischievous smile was swept away, leaving behind a warm and gentle smile. That's right, that's right. The old lady nodded her head. She immediately felt that her words were not logical and teased. Look at us, mother and son, it's as if you are already the patriarch. He started to develop a strong interest in Tang Tian. Go and collect all the information related to Tang Tian. This fellow is not simple. Oh, so it's to shave the eyes. Tang Tian was enlightened and immediately said, the two family 6 guards are coming and this time their target is us. Yes, your son's market is rising. Sima Xiao did not hide anything from his mother and said honestly. The old lady sat up straight, her face becoming solemn. Since young, you have always had your own views and your temper is stubborn. I will not ask about your matters. But Xiao, in the past the two of us were truly wronged, but let bygones be bygones. It was the first time Sima Xiao was surprised. Why? The amethyst lady asked. That's right, that's right. Tang Tian smiled and waved his hand. But since we already know about it, we have to teach them a lesson. The old lady drank a mouthful and waved her hand. Let's go, I'll drink for a while and then go rest. What do you plan to do with Lupus Constellation? Qiu Zhijun asked. How would I know? Sima Xiao waved his hands, his face looking like a rascal, but in the end he could not resist his senior brother's sharp gaze and laughed. I heard that Scorpion Tiger Valley has a great beauty, and my few cousins are all dissolute. Who knows, maybe they met her. If the Fist Saint has some sort of relationship with the beauty side, their luck is truly terrible. Qiu Zhijun stared at his junior brother's face with interest. Who cares what rank they are, I will stab them to death. Ling Su said fiercely. Everyone's heart trembled. Ling Su said impatiently, if you have something to say it quickly, fart quickly, don't delay my training. What a strange and evil spear technique, to actually be able to transform a person into a silver statue, and after 2 hours the silver statue will disappear. The tall-built man asked, Old Feng, do you know what spear technique that is? Junior brother has not been so excited for a long time. Sima Xiao regained his frivolous look and laughed. What's the result? Towards her son's concern, the old lady was very happy. I am very curious, how did the two of you suddenly become so ferocious? Tang Tian circled around the two of them. I really couldn't tell. As expected, after not seeing each other for 3 days, I have to shave my face off to meet you. Sima Xiao said gently, Mother's words are right, there can't be 2 Simas under the heavens, why would I want to seek death with them? Furthermore, your son will be in charge of the family in the future and will need help. Tang Tian would look at Crane on his left and then look at Ling Su on his right as though there was something weird on their faces. Sima Zhao's face was startled and asked, Tang Tian's men? What chance encounter, what if? I'm afraid it's all junior brother's doing. How's Huai Baihua's strength? The single-armed swordsman asked. Didn't Huai Baihua die too? Sima Xiao regained his composure and laughed. Onyx Soul is not as easy to talk to as us. Let them be the vanguard and test Tang Tian's strength. Oh right, Wu Taiyu and Huai Baihua are dead. The martial artist who killed Wu Taiyu is called Crane, and the one who killed Huai Baihua is called Ling Su. They were definitely the highest-ranked martial artists they had met so far. According to the scale of the Heaven Road list, basically every 100 ranks meant a grade. Sima Xiao accompanied his mother and sat in the garden admiring the flowers. Following his rise in status in the family, his mother, Madame Lin, had a much better life. She was extremely proud in her heart and smiled, That's my son. The young servant by the side immediately acknowledged and turned to get wine. Not sure. Old Feng shook his head, but he's definitely stronger than the two of them. Hey, you don't have to accompany me if you're busy. The old granny continued, I'm living well now, there's nothing to worry about, Xiao Yu accompanying me is enough. How's Tang Tian's strength? The one who spoke was a short-haired old man. He looked ordinary, his clothes were ordinary as well, and if he was thrown into a crowd, you would not be able to find him. Qiu Zhijun was not surprised. He had seen the report of a quasi-fist saint living in seclusion in Scorpion Tiger Valley. He looked at Sima Xiao. Why did they attack Scorpion Tiger Valley? He could not remember how long it had been since he had such a strange feeling. Number 9278 on the Heaven Road list. Old Feng was extremely familiar with the information. We even gave him an extreme Earth-grade treasure weapon. His strength should be around 9,000. The sword in Crane's hand has not been unsheathed. Qiu Zhijun's face congealed. But its grade is definitely not inferior to the Earth Wave Bear. I have already checked, Heavenly Crane Constellation does not have such a treasure. But someone found out that the sword on the ancestor of Crane sect is extremely similar to the sword in Crane's hand. There is too little information on Ling Su and we only know that he trains in the spear. This will be a tough battle, the single-armed swordsman said. Chapter 303. Tang Yi, yes, Master. The war was imminent, but Lupus Constellation was actually in a rare tranquility. Bing looked at the cannon fodder in front of him and for some reason he was in a daze. Throwing the army to Uncle Bing, Tang Tian's heart calmed down. Hey, don't stare at me, it's not like I said it. Tang Tian immediately said, now I will give you a chance to prove yourself. Liang Qiu politely replied to the clan elder. Thank you for your trouble, clan elder, we are already prepared. The elder's indifferent voice sounded out in everyone's ears. The light aura beneath their feet exploded, and their vision immediately turned white, while the light aura beneath their feet quickly became one. Inside the distorted and chaotic airflow, the light aura was like a door, slowly opening up. That's right, I was goading you. Tang Tian admitted it like a hoodlum. But this is not for me, you are fighting for yourself. Anyway, the one being mocked is not me. TSK, the dignified chief instructor of the Southern Cross Army, to actually fall to such a state. Hey, uncle, can you swallow this down? Lupus tribe. This was Tang Yi's regret, he did not know much. But the desert Lupus tribe in front of him were able to endure hardships and persevere. To him they were the best soldiers. The sky was clear, it was quiet and peaceful. Gather. I'm going to see him again. The cannon fodder that I have built are definitely not ordinary cannon fodder. These sons of the desert had perseverance far surpassing ordinary people. He looked at the army in front of him and did not say a word. Tang Tian waited calmly. Were the flags of that time still fluttering? Were the smoke of that time still blackening the sky? The brave people of that time had all turned into mud. The kings of that time did not even leave behind a sound. Crane and Ling Su were in closed-door training, and Tang Tian was also in closed-door training. He needed these 2 days to maintain a relatively excited state, to welcome the difficult battle. A total of 200 sets, all used for this cannon fodder army. The other 3 looked at each other. Time seemed to have passed. The moment the 2 Family 6 guards arrived at Lupus Constellation, the news quickly spread. Tang Tian rolled his eyes. You can just conjure up a few experts for me. Are you ready? An elder with a face full of wrinkles like ravines asked. Tang. Bing suddenly spoke. You are indeed honest. Suddenly a dazzling crack of white light lit up. Then rays of white light shot out from the crack of light like swords. The white light that gushed out was so dense that it was dazzling. Your delivery location is about 200 li away from the Lupus tribe. You only need 4 hours to get there. The elder glanced at them. If you're ready, I'll start the delivery. So, Tang Tian said proudly, you will lead this army. Bing looked at the cannon fodder expressionlessly. Yes, this subordinate has already tested it. If there are more than 3 people, they will become chaotic. Tang Yi's attitude was very strict. With that, he turned around and left. You will be the vice general and lead 50 people. The awakening reagent was just a supporting method. Tang Tian felt that the most underestimated was the army. Tang Yi's motley crew was able to kill one and injure the other of the 2 Heaven Road list experts in one move. Tang Tian believed that in Bing's hands, they would definitely be able to unleash an astonishing power. Bing encouraged Tang Yi with a smile. Quickly go. Suddenly the 4 of them had a change in expression. They were truly cannon fodder, but their coordination was much better than before. A white light door appeared in the sky. Ancient wolf tribe? Never heard of it, we never had any dealings with small shrimps in the past. Bing's face was full of arrogance, causing Tang Tian to have the urge to step on his face. The identities of the 2 Family 6 guards were quickly revealed. The entire Lupus constellation was in an uproar, followed by a collective speechlessness. The local powerhouses who were initially restless after the death of the 3 heads immediately retracted their movements. No one dared to show their heads at such a time. In the desert about 30 m above the ground. 3 people. Bing pondered. They are training very hard. Tang Yi said. There's an ambush. They have been training the umbrella tactics for the past 2 days. Interrupting a good show. The four of them felt their hearts sink. After a long while he then squeezed out a sentence. Your bullshit reagent, it better be useful. The effect is obvious. There are pros and cons. Tang Yi hesitated for a while. If it is a small team of 3, their coordination is very good. They can sense each other. It should be the awakening of the ancient wolf tribe's blood meridians. This blood meridians is truly suitable for the army. Give them another 3 years and this army will definitely become very strong. But as long as there are more people, this connection will become very chaotic. They are still unable to adapt. In this period of time, their fighting strength is actually declining. Bang. All right. Han Bingning lowered his eyebrows and held onto his sword. His expression was calm. Only the hand holding onto the sword hilt was trembling slightly. All of them were actually rushing towards Fundamental Tang and the rest. Don't use such childish methods to provoke me. Bing looked at Tang Tian coldly. The 4 figures flew out of the light door. The light door quickly closed behind them and disappeared. Who are you guys? A Maori asked curiously. Liang Qiu's calm voice came out from the light door. Oh. Bing shook his head. I think that your strategy is rather good. If even I can't guess it, then others can't either. The only thing I have to worry about is that they are not up to the task. One could almost imagine that Tang Tian's situation was not good. A cold voice came out. A few figures appeared around them. Liang Qiu's face changed. His expression became gloomy. Countless of thoughts flashed past his mind. The opponent actually knew where they would appear. There was a traitor. Honorable Martial Alliance. Especially when he saw the flag that Tang Yi was holding, he was stunned. Bing stopped in his tracks. Without turning his head, he said, "Take care of yourself." Bing did not know he had already spun a few rounds under Tang Tian's feet. He curled his lips. You actually placed your hopes on this group of cannon fodder. That really surprised me. Not knowing why, she was a little nervous. Bing's poker face darkened. Just because I said it, they can say it? Ha 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 ha. Imoli laughed heartily. So even you can make such a mistake. I thought only a lively and upright man like you would make such an honest mistake. What? Sima Gui's cold gaze looked around. It was as though he wanted to devour someone. Of course. Although Tang Tian did not have much confidence in his heart, his words were firm. Do you know about the ancient jackal race? They are a relatively powerful race. Although the blood meridians in their bodies are mixed up, the majority of them are still the jackal race. And himself. That's right. They are important people. They are not country bumpkins like us. How can they be easily intimidated by an army? Tang Tian glanced at Bing. Furthermore, even you said that they are cannon fodder. Haha. This lively martial man can't wait any longer. A Maori clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds. He was like a wild beast with excess energy. He was extremely excited. Then let's go. Let's go. As expected of cannon fodder. Yes. Tang Yi's indifferent eyes flashed with a trace of excitement. To be able to be the master's assistant general was an honor. Even as a gold-ranked staff sergeant, it was something that he did not even dare to think about. Pa. Who we are is not important. But I advise you guys to stay here. Don't disturb the show. The leader's gaze was cold. As long as you guys are honest and cooperate, everyone will be fine. When the 2 family 6 guards stepped onto the desert, everyone knew that the decisive battle was about to begin. The 4 of them stood in a straight line. Each of them had a circle of light beneath their feet. Tang Tian explained. With your strength, if you were to fight alone, you can handle 1 person. But they still have more people than us. And these fellows are not comparable to the person that Tang Yi killed the last time. When I interacted with them this time, I could feel that they have some restraining fear towards this army, but more than that, they did not think much of it. Are you sure that this thing is useful? Bing's poker face was filled with suspicion. The more he thought about it, the more pleased he became. When other people talked about his army, they were only surprised at its appearance and not at its strength. They thought that Tang Yi was the one commanding the army, but they would never have thought that the one commanding it was the stronger Bing. The 4 of them landed at the same time. Amauri looked around. Hey, which direction are we going? The 2 family 6 guards entered Lupus constellation. They did not want to attract attention. But they had wrongly estimated the situation. Crane and Ling Su's 2 battles were too sensational. Countless eyes were staring at Lupus constellation. Tang Tian looked at Bing's back that was brimming with killing intent and suddenly shouted. Hey uncle, you can do it. But it was a pity that time was too short. I understand. Bing nodded his head. The intense energy undulation caused the air to be in a mess. The air within the radius of a few li was completely disrupted. The violent wind blew the sand, covering the sky and covering the sun. Only the light crack was clear. The four of them immediately understood. How's the awakening reagent? Bing asked. Only the stars in the sky were looking down at the earth day and night. Bing was also startled. Disapproving. Bing's eyebrows twitched. Although Bing kept saying that they were cannon fodder, but the army was still personally built by him. Hearing that they were being looked down upon, he was immediately unhappy. Ever since Tang Yi's shocking blade, one of the two Heaven Road list martial artists died and the other was injured, such a shocking result. Not only did it cause them to be filled with fanatical worship for Tang Yi, it also made them realize that the army that they were training was extremely strong. Even without Tang Yi's urging, everyone was training with all their might. All the awakening reagents were made by Old Man Fei overnight, and every ingredient was bought at a high price in Yong'an City. Bing's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Umbrella tactic? Tang Yi was startled. It was a relatively simple basic tactic and was the basis of many other tactics. After a while he was enlightened. His mind was roused. I guarantee that I will complete the mission. The surging and berserk energy undulation produced a shockwave that spread out in all directions. The sand that was originally swept up by the airflow was swept away. The scene of sand and stones flying around suddenly disappeared. Uncle Bing was right, he had to take care of himself. Chapter 304. A bit like a battle tribe. Bing was slightly surprised and immediately fell into deep thought. Perhaps one day he would die in battle. His indifferent face became calm again. But no matter how much he inhaled the smoke, there was no reaction. Yaya became angrier and suddenly rushed into the smoke. Ling Su's hand stopped and immediately laughed out loud with a heroic spirit. After this battle you will have to cultivate. How is it? Are you afraid? He did not know what other people were thinking, but for the upcoming battle he only had anticipation and excitement. Every short and intense battle he would always have a different understanding. That feeling of burning his life made him deeply intoxicated. In the troops there were their own children. Among the crowd there were people who could not help but cry. Ling Su wiped off the medicine on his body and carefully wrapped himself with bandages. No one laughed and no one spoke. The entire tribe was filled with an indescribable pressure. Everyone in the tribe came out from their own homes to send off the troops. Yaya suddenly turned his head, the tears in his eyes had disappeared completely, and his eyes flashed with an ominous glint. The three small mechanical beasts suffered different degrees of damage, and Sai Lei specially made a new body for them which was even more valiant. The tyrant Sai was now very generous and gave the three little rascals a ridiculously high configuration. Flamingo's deep dark red eyes stared at him. Suddenly, it bent its neck and lightly rubbed its head on Ling Su's arm. Yaya's little head was like a chicken pecking at rice. It stuck out its chest and raised its head, trying its best to display a strong appearance, and behind it the three little rascals stood neatly in a row, all raised their heads. A few of the soldiers in the army could not help but have their eyes turn red. In fact, they also knew their hope of winning this battle was actually extremely slim. A bright red flame emerged from Flamingo's body, blazing and reckless. In that moment the wild flame filled Ling Su's vision. The flame gradually converged. The bright red flame was cold and silent. Flamingo's eyes became dark red, like an extremely dense flame. These tough men who were born in the desert were already used to fighting. Moreover, if they won this battle they would win everything. Tang Tian lowered his head. Yaya was grabbing onto his trousers, her eyes wide open. Behind it were three little followers, the bronze goat, bronze tortoise and bronze squirrel. He was an idiot. Following by Tang Tian's side, he was constantly under immense pressure. Tang Tian's jaw-dropping improvement speed made every proud and arrogant genius feel as though there was a dagger behind their backs. He was like that, and so was Ling Su. They didn't need anyone to spur them on at all. The two of them didn't dare to be negligent in the slightest and cultivated with all their might. Feng Chao's head floated over and he asked curiously, "Young Tang, aren't you wearing your glasses?" The smoke didn't seem to notice and proudly said, "What's the use of staring at me? You guys just stay here obediently and don't drag us down. You little dolls, the battlefield is not a place for you guys to go. Thinking about the past, he was truly a frog at the bottom of a well. He thought that after obtaining the crane body energy in front of him, it was a smooth road, and if he trained diligently he would be able to reach the heights of his ancestor. Only now did he know how naive he was in the past. If not for him signing the martial spirit contract with Tang Tian, he would definitely not be able to reach the realm he was today. The smoke snorted disapprovingly. Don't waste your energy, Bud Spirit General. If I did not seal myself up, killing you would be as easy as killing an ant. They were very clear what kind of battle Tang Tian and the rest were facing. If not for Tang Tian, Crane knew that he would not be so hardworking. His hands held onto the crane sword that was placed on his knees. The simple and unadorned wooden sword sheath had no patterns, only traces of time. No one would have thought that, under the simple and unadorned sword sheath, would actually be a gold saint sword. Yeah. Yaya's little mouth flattened even more, like a wave shaking his head. Tears were about to fall. Yaya's eyes glowed fiercely. Whoosh, he brought the three little fellows and immediately surrounded the smoke. In the darkness, the aura around his body suddenly burst out. The wind dispersed in all directions, his jet black hair fluttered, and the wooden boards in the quiet room suddenly burst open. He could not help but think of Tang Tian. His calm and emotionless face could not help but reveal a trace of a smile. The three little fellows also uniformly turned their heads and stared at the smoke. Its little fellows were completely stunned. Thinking about the time when he was in the sect, he was already the most hardworking person in the sect. If he were to return to the sect after learning the crane body energy, he was afraid that he would forever be the frog at the bottom of the well. Yaya had a huge change. The armor on his body was even brighter. He carried a small bow and arrows on his back. A small flag stuck on his butt, indistinctly had a ball of mist churning like a blurred word. Tang Tian did not know that when he rejected Yaya, it would cause such a series of reactions. All his attention now was completely focused on the battle that was about to begin. Ling Su laughed out loud, flipped over and sat on the bird's back, picked up the silver spear and rushed out of the room like a gust of raging fire. Yaya acted as though he did not hear it and breathed with all his might. He stood up. When he walked out of the room, he realized that everyone was already waiting for him and immediately laughed. Yaya, everyone's speed is quite fast. Really? It's really true. Feng Chou was surprised. Tang Tian's red and blue eyes had indeed become extremely faint. If one did not pay attention, one would not be able to tell. Tang Tian shook his head. This time the person is too powerful, you guys better stay here obediently. Ling Su laughed at himself. Recalling the handwritten scroll that his grandmaster left behind, he finally understood why his grandmaster when he was young traveled everywhere from the distant ancient East to this place. It was this long journey that allowed his grandmaster to gradually grow and have all the achievements he had. Heavenly Crane had hibernated for too long. In the meditation room there was not a single ray of light, it was as dark as ink. A pair of eyes slowly opened. Clear and calm eyes without a ripple like an ancient well, had an indescribable peace. This was the first time Flamingo used a 7th level star rock. And in this period of time, the many new techniques that she had developed were all used on them. This was purely out of habit. After finishing, he immediately threw them to the side as though he had no time to bother with them. The three little fellows naturally followed Yaya. Wearing the golden threaded white robe, he did not know what material the white robe was made of. It was sturdy and comfortable and did not affect his battle. Although it had been many years, but it looked brand new. He changed Flamingo's new 7th level star rock. For this bitter battle, the expensive star rocks were all used. He finally understood why there were so many martial artists who cherished the danger of losing their lives and continued to challenge others. Because only in between life and death, a person's potential could truly burst forth. And only in an intense battle could one know one's own shortcomings. His expression was focused, meticulous. Everyone's face was solemn and solemn. In their eyes, the two family 6 guards were far-away strong martial artists. Even the 3 big shots of Lupus constellation in front of them were like children. He continued to speak mysteriously. Also, I have a very powerful discovery. His silver palm gently caressed Flamingo's body. You're excited. Recruit barracks. Just like the Bud Spirit General, it opened its mouth and started to suck in the black smoke with all its might. Humph. Don't tell me you guys still want to fight with me? Overestimating yourselves. The smoke snorted. I can't say. Tang Tian shook his head seriously like a rattle drum. I plan to give them a big surprise. Alright, the moment before the battle to recall such shameful things was a blow to their morale. Ling Su could feel the excitement from Flamingo. Crane meditated for a full 3 days. This was not something that could be replaced by daily training and pure thinking. Tang Tian was dumbfounded, but thinking about how tough the battle would be, he definitely did not have the time to take care of these rascals. He hardened his heart and firmly shook his head. No, you guys stay here obediently. The identity of the 2 family 6 guards had long spread throughout Lupus constellation. Seeing that the morale of the army did not drop, but instead rose slightly, Tang Tian could not stand it anymore and could only escape. Tang Tian used all his strength to jump and immediately became extremely happy. I am so full of energy today. I must definitely beat them to a pulp. The battles that he had experienced along the way were like pieces of grindstones, polishing his sword, making it even sharper. Feng Chou and the 3 rascals were completely stunned. Feng Chou's surprise made Tang Tian even more pleased. This godlike young lad is so strong. Yaya's face was pitiful, his chubby little hands gesturing. His clear eyes lit up with a cold aura. You little trash, you also want to participate in the battle. Don't embarrass yourselves. You are too weak, so weak that you can only be slaughtered by others. The smoke came out with a mocking tone. Every detail of the battle with Wu Taiyu kept rolling in his mind, repeatedly appearing, and he kept digesting and summarizing. Yaya's mouth flattened and tears immediately flowed out. The smoke came out with a panicked and angry roar. He killed Wu Taiyu. It was extremely dangerous. Wu Taiyu underestimated the crane sword in his hand. When the earthen wave bear was restrained by the crane sword, Wu Taiyu's face was filled with shock. These few days he constantly thought about every scene and benefited a lot far beyond his imagination. But very quickly the elders in the tribe started to encourage him loudly. Yaya was completely enraged. Its little eyes were like a wild beast. It was the lowest level Bud Spirit General. After continuous nourishment, it felt that its body was different from before. But at this time, it completely forgot about everything else. Its instincts had taken over its body. Flamingo looked at Ling Su with a look of disdain. What discovery? Feng Chou was stunned. But no matter what, it has to be after I complete my own wish. But by his side you will never be afraid, and then follow him to do some stupid things. Thinking about that, even Crane, who was indifferent, had the urge to facepalm. I'm not wearing it anymore. Tang Tian happily turned his face and moved his face closer. Look, it's getting lighter again. These few days I finally figured out how to control these 2 eyes. You want to fight too? Tang Tian squatted down, his face surprised. Chapter 305. To actually leave Crane alone to protect the army, that was truly amateurish. The 2 family 6 guards truly lived up to their name. Single Blade, who was by her side, had a cold gaze. He was sprinting in an extremely strange manner. His body was slanted to the right, forming an extremely small angle with the ground, as though he was about to fall at any time. His arm drooped down, the blade tip just happened to touch the ground. The opponent's army was undoubtedly the biggest weakness. To tangle with Tang Tian and the other 2 to get rid of the army, and then form the advantage of 6 against 3. While sprinting, Meng Wei unsheathed the sword at her waist. The gold light aura, with an astonishing speed, continuously converged onto the sword in her hand. In a breath of time, the dense gold light aura on her sword was like a layer of gold liquid, flying like a sharp sword, slicing the air apart. Everyone was waiting for the Honorable Martial Alliance to make their move. What did Tang Tian and the rest count as? In their hearts, Tang Tian and the rest would definitely lose. The only thing that made them interested was when the Honorable Martial Alliance would make their move. That would be the climax that made them excited. They did not believe that the Honorable Martial Alliance would let Tang Tian be killed by Onyx Soul for no reason. Meng Wei said coldly, I am not worried about Old June 2 and Single Blade, but the 3 of you to deal with an army, be careful. Meng Wei and Single Blade welcomed Tang Tian and Ling Su. Meng Wei's expression turned cold. The original plan: I will deal with Tang Tian, Single Blade will tangle with Ling Su, and Old June 2 will lure Crane away. The 3 of you, get rid of the cannon fodder and end the battle quickly. 300 million star coins to them was a huge sum. Looking down from the sky, they would see a strange scene. The 20 li of the battlefield was empty, and at the outer perimeter of the battlefield, sand dunes rose up from the ground, forming a circular belt of sand dunes. Meng Wei could feel everyone's pressure and said indifferently, "That is the best, we can finish this battle in one go." That was Meng Wei's tactic, simple and effective. They want to step on our shoulders. The one-armed blade man said coldly. The battle between armies and martial artists was a game of numbers. The individual combat power of a martial artist far surpassed that of an ordinary soldier. They had an extremely strong advantage in certain areas. Furthermore, they were more agile and often took the initiative. And the advantage of an army was that they had more people and their overall strength was more solid. Seeing the chaotic enemies, Meng Wei and the rest relaxed even more. If there was an army, the experts would stand guard around the army. Armies had the advantage in positional warfare, but advancing armies to experts were simply full of flaws. A fiery red figure was the first to rush out. Ling Su couldn't hold back any longer. All the scouts shook their heads at the same time. In the various constellations, many people who were watching the battle shook their heads as well. An army that had lost the protection of experts was extremely weak. She said calmly, "The elder prepared a bounty of 2 billion star coins for the 6 of us." From their point of view, Tang Tian and the others were just the fews. No one believed that they could defeat the two families' 6 guards. "Is everyone ready?" Tang Tian asked in a deep voice. His eyes were filled with excitement. Qiu Zhijun was stunned. That's very possible." The amethyst lady laughed. "If they win us, the southern sky's 42 constellations, this small pond will not be able to keep them. Even if they go to the northern sky, they can still have a place." Both parties stopped at the same time and faced each other. Junior brother has always been arrogant and has no one in his eyes to actually say such words. "Then we will kill them all." Manju, who was like an iron tower, said fiercely. Old Feng laughed. "Big sister, you are looking down on us. What army? It is enough to scare the amateurs. It is just those 2 idiots who will go head first. At the very most, this broken army has only been formed for 2 months. To be able to train up an army in 2 months, that army is too worthless. Guess what these people did in the past? They are all ordinary martial artists in the tribe. I reckon they were just bandits before." As expected, it was as they expected. Halfway through, Meng Wei and the other 5 suddenly split into 2 groups. In the sky and on the ground around the desert, many people were watching the battle. All the martial artists who originally wanted to witness Wu Taiyu's glory were all focused on the world-shocking battle. The 2 family 6 guards were infamous. In front of Old Feng and the other 2 ordinary Heaven's Road grade martial artists were unable to pose any threat. The 3 of them were people who had been through battles for a long time and had rich experience. Against such a cannon fodder army, it was extremely easy. And he did not advance in a straight line, but from start to finish he moved in a slight arc, leaving behind a wave-shaped long blade mark on the sand behind him. "They want to fight a decisive battle with us," Old Feng said. Elder is really generous this time." The amethyst lady laughed. Crane sighed helplessly. These 2 rascals, when can they be more reliable? Meng Wei's gaze was the first to land on the army. Her face was calm, but her heart heaved a sigh of relief. Old Feng was right, the army was truly nothing to be afraid of. There were only 200 people and their military formation was average. The troops were loose and disorganized and the soldiers' movements looked extremely jerky. Bing's poker face was expressionless and he waved his hand, "Advance." No one cared about him. One was biting cold and sharp, the other was strange and unpredictable. The front and back were disjointed. All of these star treasures were usually not eye-catching, but at that moment they were extremely useful. But the opponent knew of their background and still dared to put on a decisive battle stance. That was enough to prove that the opponent was confident in his own strength or had other methods. Such a lucky young man. The amethyst lady's eyes lit up. If only I had met him earlier. Although they spoke casually, but in their hearts they did not dare to underestimate him. The local martial artists of Lupus Constellation were all confused. They did not understand what they were doing. All of the martial artists were powerful and their efficiency was terrifying. After a while, a sand dune that was over 50 m tall rose from the ground, and they flew to the top of the sand dune and looked towards the center of the battlefield. The army slowly advanced. They had followed Tu Ruhai for many years, and no one was clearer than them of the elder's temper. Taboo in the battlefield. Meng Wei calmed down. The army that suddenly appeared was the biggest worry in her heart, and was also the most uncertain factor in the entire battle. Now that the biggest uncertain factor was eliminated, her last worry was also eliminated. Regardless of which, to them it was not a good thing. Hey, don't think of me as a petty person. Sima Xiao laughed. This is just a small test. If you cannot even pass this, then you do not have the qualifications to be my opponent. Tang Tian did not care. He raised both of his arms, while Wu go go go. Two completely different styles, but the impact it gave people was equally strong. The local martial artists of Lupus Constellation were naturally dumbstruck. They did not expect that their first move would be so astonishing. Even the scouts from the higher-level constellations were all attracted by the two's astonishing aura. Regardless if it was Tang Tian, Ling Su or Meng Wei's group, they were all as fast as lightning. The astonishing speed caused countless of Lupus Constellation martial artists to exclaim. And the scouts sent by the powerhouses were even stronger and more knowledgeable. Their gazes coincidentally landed on the army. The blade tips sliced through the sand, releasing a bone-chilling sound. Manju laughed foolishly. We are going to be rich this time. The amethyst lady burst out laughing. So it is that kind of army. It makes my heart tremble. The matters outside the battlefield did not distract the two parties. The Heaven Road list of 9,000 strong martial artists, to the Lupus Constellation, was an unreachable existence. Countless eyes were fixated on the battle. How long had it been since such a battle attracted the attention of others? There had never been a battle that made them feel so pressured. Losing, not mentioning the damage to their reputation, Wu Taiyu's death had already caused the clan elders to lose face, if there were any accidents in the battle. If the Honorable Martial Alliance were to make a move, then it would be a clash between two top-notch martial artists. Suddenly, Meng Wei raised her head. Following that, a few others also sensed it and immediately kept quiet, raising their heads to look into the distance. The others were enlightened and followed suit. This was a battle that they had to win. Qiu Zhijun said indifferently, although they messed up your plans, your revenge is too fast, isn't it? Isn't this what they call, hatred does not last overnight? Old Feng laughed, but the spirit general at the front has some standards, 8th level grandmaster grade blade techniques. I never thought that he would be proficient in military formations. Such a spirit general. I wonder where did Tang Tian get him from? Meng Wei had not finished speaking, and was the first to rush out. The other 5 were like arrows that left the bow, whooshing out. The other few people's faces congealed. They did not know much about the enemy, a group of new recruits. All the information was limited. Their intelligence was not weak, but the useful information they had was pitiful. Everyone's spirits were roused. 2 billion star coins, Meng Wei 500 million, the other 5 300 million each. With such a huge reward, there would definitely be brave people. Everyone immediately became excited. The army's advancement speed was not slow, but in the battlefield, it was like a tortoise. Among the spectating martial artists, there were many scouts from the big powerhouses. Star treasures continuously lit up with light auras. All of them came prepared. With the star treasure of Telescope Constellation, it allowed them to be 20 li away and still be able to capture every detail of the battlefield. With the star treasure of Altar Constellation, this type of treasure was able to transmit everything that was happening in front of them to a faraway place. Tang Tian saw that Ling Su was actually faster than him and shouted, "I'm here." Tang Tian and the rest were here. The martial artists of Lupus Constellation were all drooling. Star treasures like this were not only uncommon, but were extremely expensive, and ordinary martial artists would not even buy them. Compared to the country bumpkins of Lupus Constellation, the martial artists that came from a higher-level constellation were much richer. Tima family. Sima Xiao looked at the silver-ranked Heaven's Mirror altar on the table, his mouth revealing a pleased smile, and muttered to himself, full of playfulness, "I have helped you block the helpers. It is such a good opportunity. Don't disappoint me, young lad Tang." They all took out their tools and immersed themselves in digging. On the sand dune it was densely packed with people. Chapter 306. Meng Wei's Blood Meridians comes from one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, Cetus Constellation, White Whale Blood. Fatty Li Baya took a deep breath. That is a genuine equatorial palace hall silver blood. A constellation blood meridian that possesses the power of a constellation and is not just a name. Her strongest point is her power, the power of the white whale. A pity she has not completely activated her blood meridians, if not with the power of the whale who can stop her. I've seen your sword techniques. The wind was like a knife cutting his face. His heart was like a fire without fear. Yong'an City. Fatty Li and Mo Wei Tian were watching the battle. Under the dazzling sunlight, the perspiration-covered face had a heart-palpitating calmness. Sima Xiao suddenly laughed. Why was he worrying for Tang Tian? He suddenly asked curiously, "Senior brother, if you meet her, what can you do?" The smile on Sima Xiao's face disappeared and his face became gloomy. Tang Tian's mouth twitched with difficulty. He laughed. It was extremely ugly. He lowered his head and closed his eyes as though he was recovering his strength. Bang! So the strongest opponent was only like this. If not for his astonishing intuition and his strength being stronger than most people, he would have long died under Meng Wei's sword. Meng Wei was like a leech, one sword after another. Her sword techniques were simple and unadorned, simple and clean, but her strength was extremely terrifying. The golden light enveloping the sword body was a smoke screen. No one would have thought that such a petite body would actually possess such terrifying strength. The scariest thing was her hands, as though they were broken. She could not feel them at all. Who? Tima family. There were many different types of blood meridians, but the truly exquisite ones were split into 3 schools: Constellation blood meridians, ancient blood meridians, and new blood meridians. Ancient blood meridians were the blood meridians passed down from the ancient fighting races. The ancient races had experienced countless of generations of reproduction, intermarriage, and the blood meridians had become extremely mixed. The advantage was that the people would become smarter, but the disadvantage was that their fighting instincts had disappeared. The blood meridian specialists would continuously refine and search for ancient blood meridians, allowing the people to regain their fighting instincts. Don't look down on Tang Tian. Qiu Zhijun shook his head. Look carefully, although he is being suppressed, but he has not lost. His strength is not weak, his intuition is astonishing, his willpower is tenacious. You must not look down on him. Meng Wei raised the sword in her hand and placed it in front of her. Under the wave of suffocating attacks just now, Tang Tian's outstanding intuition was displayed to the extreme. He did not activate the King Peacock eyes. He wanted to see how strong this woman was. A dazzling light aura blossomed from Tang Tian's fingertips. The light aura that belonged to the fire scythe ghost claw once again shone brightly. Tang Tian's fighting spirit was boiling, his charging speed suddenly increased. The bleeding cat scythe in his hands opened up, the faint cat sob lingering around him. Qiu Zhijun's pale face frowned. This is not the right path. She relies on the power of her bloodline, and her comprehension of the sword is very ordinary. But Tang Tian did not know that the shock in Meng Wei's heart was no less than his. Mo Wei Tian was speechless. Equatorial Palace silver blood. These 5 words caused his face to turn ashen. Tang Tian was completely stunned. The 2 family 6 guards are the 6 strongest martial artists that Tu Ru Hai personally created. In the beginning there were 36 martial artists that were chosen, and in the end there were only 6 left. For the 2 family 6 guards, Tu Ru Hai practically squandered all of his wealth. It's funny that I laughed at him for being stupid. I am as stupid as a pig. Meng Wei sensed something and her heart jumped. He was known for his strength, and this was something that he was rather proud of. But the power that Meng Wei's sword body transmitted made him unable to defend. The clothes on his body were torn to shreds by the overflowing qi. Perspiration flowed down Tang Tian's face. He looked as though he was fished out from a river, the mist rising, releasing white qi. He opened his mouth wide, gasping for breath, allowing the perspiration to flow into his mouth. Bang! This was a terrifying process that lingered between life and death, but once one endured it, it would be a whole new world. The fire scythe ghost claw clashed with the opponent's sword. Tang Tian's heart thumped. Not right. The immense power caused the 10 m tall sand dune to explode. The scene of hundreds of tons of sand exploding like heavenly maidens scattering flowers was extremely spectacular. It was not only Meng Wei who sensed that something was wrong. Many people had already noticed Tang Tian, who was retreating step by step, and was completely suppressed, but was bitterly holding on. Meng Wei counted in her heart she had already released 31 swords. Now it's my turn. Such a powerful blood meridian, isn't that an extreme earth-grade blood meridian? Tima Xiao was moved. Fatty Li continued. This Meng Wei is Tu Ruhai's most perfect creation. Out of the 36 people that were selected, Meng Wei was the weakest, and only trained in the most superficial martial techniques. She was an orphan that Tu Ruhai picked up on the road and was only 11 years old at that time, and was as skinny as a match. Tu Ruhai used his blood meridians and started to transform the 36 people. Very quickly there were people who could not hold on and died. Following the continuous upgrade of the blood meridians, there were only 6 left. And Meng Wei, compared to the other 5, had one more round of transformation. Who would have thought that the little girl at that time would actually become the strongest? No, it's the Equatorial Palace Hall grade. Qiu Zhijun's eyebrows relaxed and once again became indifferent. 10 Equatorial Palace Halls, only one constellation is known for its strength, Cetus constellation. This lady's chi is calm, her gaze is clear, it should be the white whale blood. The white whale in the whale has a flawless heart. Sima Xiao was dumbstruck. What a barbaric girl. Senior brother, her sword techniques are so powerful. The Meng Wei in front of him did not know fatigue. Sword after sword was like a prehistoric monster. The uncle had said before women were like Tyrannosaurus rex that could spit fire. In the past Tang Tian scoffed at this saying. But today Tang Tian felt that the uncle was right. Other than Meng Wei not being able to spit fire, she was no different from a Tyrannosaurus rex. Oh, I would like to hear the details. Mo Wei Tian's gaze did not move away from the screen and said. Mo Wei Tian saw that Tang Tian was completely suppressed, and was so nervous that his palms were sweating, but hearing Fatty Li's words he said, not necessarily, City Lord, do not be anxious. Mo Wei Tian was speechless. Meng Wei was like lightning, her entire being was like a sharp sword, cutting through the air. The sword in her hand was enveloped with a dense gold light aura. There had never been anyone who could block her 31 swords. It had to be said, Meng Wei's display of power and elegance completely suppressed Tang Tian. Direct and efficient, without any sloppiness from start to finish, she had suppressed Tang Tian to the point that he could not even lift his head. There was no torrential downpour, it was just an ordinary sword after sword, but it was filled with a suffocating pressure. Tu Ruhai actually did such a thing? Mo Wei Tian's face turned green. Isn't Onyx Soul forbidden to do such things? Mo Wei Tian glanced at Fatty Li's physique, and really wanted to say that he was actually a pig. Fatty Li said helplessly, Onyx Soul is a place where fish and dragons mix together. Now that there are so many clan elders, who cares about you? The one who did it was not Tu Ruhai alone. Furthermore, you and I are willing. Does blood meridians not need money? The two figures were like two dazzling bolts of lightning clashing head-on. She is very smart, using strength to break technique, cutting off the branches and taking the trunk. Her power actually multiplied. Qiu Zhijun said indifferently, it's a pity she does not have anyone to guide her, and her comprehension of the sword is too little. Meeting a true expert in sword techniques, she will be in trouble. The sword is based on strength. His eyelashes that were covered in sweat trembled, as though the door to another world was trembling. Cetus constellation was one of the 10 Equatorial Palace halls, and the majority of the constellation's power was in the hands of the constellation master. To be able to provide the silver-ranked, white whale blood, his position in Cetus constellation was definitely not low. Bit by bit, after experiencing the initial shock and panic, Tang Tian started to get used to the intensity of the attacks that he never dared to imagine in the past. So strong. And new blood meridians was a general term, referring to a few blood meridian specialists trying to fuse, mutate and produce new blood meridians. These blood meridians were all blood meridians that had never existed before in history, so they were collectively called new blood meridians. But these blood meridians were after all artificial, and usually had many unpredictable flaws. Thus, these blood meridians were not welcomed in the market and no one dared to try them out. Tang Tian blocked left and right, swaying and tottering as though he could collapse at any time, but after 31 swords he did not fall. One sword, two swords, Tang Tian blocked them, and Meng Wei would think that he was lucky, but after 31 swords, even an idiot would not know that it was definitely not luck. Meng Wei stopped. She finally understood she had underestimated Tang Tian. The intensity of the attack was unable to pose a threat to Tang Tian. Tang Tian was much stronger than she thought, but she had to stop here. That time in Yong'an City, the two of them did not exchange blows, and even the probing of qi was just a touch. But Tang Tian understood at that time that the lady was extremely strong. Meng Wei saw that Tang Tian did not show any signs of weakness and rushed over, showing that he wanted to fight head-on. Her cold eyes squinted, the cold aura like stars. In mid-air her wrist trembled and the sword trembled. Tang Tian's eyes slowly opened. Tang Tian, who had suffered a heavy blow, flew out once again. His palms were in pain. Meng Wei's strength was 3 times that of Tang Tian. The terrifying and barbaric power came from the opponent's sword, and before Tang Tian could react, his entire being was like a ball that was struck by a wooden stick, becoming a straight shadow and plunged into the sand dune. In a moment of desperation, Tang Tian's palms blocked in front of his face. That was the strongest enemy that he had ever met. That's good, that's good. Sima Xiao patted his chest. With senior brother protecting me, I don't have to worry about my life and won't end up like Tang Tian. The incoming imposing aura caused Tang Tian to feel a sharp pain in his body. Fatty Li was slightly disappointed. Tang Tian can't do it anymore. Of the 2 family 6 guards, Meng Wei is the strongest. There is no more suspense. In mid-air, Tang Tian's bent body suddenly straightened up. He raised his head, sparkling and translucent perspiration dripped onto the sand below him. Constellation blood meridians contained the power of the constellation, thus its power was strong. Living beings that lived in the constellation would receive the baptism of the constellation's power day and night, and had a certain chance of producing a constellation blood meridian. The more the constellation's power, the purer the constellation's blood meridian would be. So the generations of constellation masters all had extremely strong blood meridians. Their descendants had a high chance of inheriting the blood meridians. Pure physical strength combined with simple sword techniques, Tang Tian's true power and martial techniques were completely defeated. Salty. Oh, could it be that Patriarch Mo thinks that Tang Tian still has a chance? Fatty Li was surprised. He immediately shook his head and sighed. He was angry and jealous. Tu Ruhai's life is good. Tu Ruhai and I are enemies, and I am clear of the situation of the 2 family 6 guards. Tang Tian clenched his teeth and endured. Every sword strike caused his entire body to tremble. All the muscles on his body trembled and his skin seemed to be burning red. In the blink of an eye, his entire body was drenched in perspiration, as though he had just been fished out of the water. Tang Tian's mind was in a daze, his mouth full of sand, and before he could react, a sword aura pierced through the sand and appeared in front of him. Chapter 307. Single Blade's blade technique was light and agile. The changes were strange, causing Ling Su's heart to be secretly shocked. But his pointed sea spears was the nemesis of such blade techniques. The pointed sea spears were unchanging and were not affected by the opponent. Qiao Feng constellation was one of the ancient constellations that disappeared. If it was another constellation, Xianxia might not know, but Qiao Feng constellation was a constellation that every Aries constellation student knew, because the constellation that swallowed Qiao Feng constellation was Aries constellation. The pointed sea spears was like a swamp, faintly emitting a suction force. And for some reason, every time the spear aura swept past, Single Blade's heart would suddenly feel an intense sense of danger. Qiu Zhijun's eyes released a bright light, his clothes fluttering without any wind. He slowly spat out 5 words, King Peacock Eyes. A lump of shadow gradually became clearer and thicker beneath his feet. Ling Su was taken aback with a thought. Flamingo retreated backwards, his fingers moving continuously. In a flash, he laid out waves of spear auras in front of him. Hey Shuiyan, what are you doing? Xianxia glanced at Shuiyan, who was watching the screen with a face of surprise. Aren't you going to rest? You have a test in the afternoon. Single Blade's eyes flashed with a cold aura. He decided to end the battle quickly. This technique, Flock Blade Cloud, consumed a lot of energy and Single Blade rarely used it, but he had never failed, and the only time it was broken through was by Big Sister Meng Wei. Single Blade's second slash in front of him missed, and his heart was surprised. Most martial artists, if they were attacked from behind, their first reaction would be to move forward to get rid of the enemy. Ling Su had rich battle experience. Flamingo and his thoughts were linked, and did not move forward, but instead fiercely jumped backwards. Ling Su suddenly realized Single Blade's figure was nowhere to be seen, and his face changed. Not good, above my head. I almost made a huge mistake. I definitely cannot be tricked by this asshole, but... Xianxia's face was covered in tears. He had actually forgotten that the person in front of him was a bookworm. His arm, with an extremely small tremble, countless tiny saber radiance, constantly gushed out from his saber body, into the sparrow saber cloud. Xianxia was stunned. He subconsciously shook his head. How is that possible? Wasn't Qiaofeng constellation swallowed by our Aries constellation? Hey, did you learn history for nothing? I have 1,000,000 star coins. As soon as the words left his mouth, Xianxia even had the thought of finding a piece of tofu and knocking his head against it. If the top student doesn't take the exam, the teacher will chat a little. The saber cloud grew thicker and thicker. Single Blade's face revealed a strenuous expression. However, his gaze was firmly fixed on Ling Su. Zhou Xian rattled off a bunch of things, directly knocking Xianxia unconscious. Where is he? Xianxia was a little tempted, but when he thought of the teacher in charge of the examination in the afternoon, his heart trembled. Shua. Single Blade was also startled. Knights like Ling Su usually walked the path of firm and fierce spear arts. Never had he imagined that Ling Su's spear arts would be fluid and full of tangled strength, which was so unconventional. As soon as the words left his mouth, Xianxia immediately sobered up. He immediately regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. He said, "What I meant was Aries constellation." Ling Su's heart was beating wildly. Almost at the same time he felt a chill behind his neck. It truly is the blood meridians of Qiaofeng constellation. What about the exam? Ling Su's heart suddenly trembled. The opponent's chi suddenly became erratic and light, and he was unable to lock onto it. Blade. This strange sense of familiarity came from nowhere. Ling Su dared to guarantee that it was the first time he had encountered such a strange blade technique. If Xianxia did not take the exam, the teacher would beat him to death. Good. I'll go. I'm watching people fight. Zhou Xian did not even turn his head. His appearance was delicate and pretty with a bit of scholarly air. He hugged onto a bucket of popcorn and ate at the same time. There's only so much to do during the exam. Do you need to rest? A fine blade aura swept past his scalp. The ice-cold blade aura caused all the hairs on Ling Su's body to stand. A strand of silver hair on the back of his head was cut off and scattered into the air. Ling Su squinted his eyes and looked at Single Blade in front of him. Black and yellow intersecting B patterns covered Single Blade's entire body, making him look as though he was painted. A trace of suspicion flashed past Ling Su's heart. He did not know why, but the opponent's blade technique actually made him feel somewhat familiar. The dense blade aura that resembled a swarm of bees collided with the spear aura. The surface of the spear aura exploded with countless sparks. It shrunk by half, but it forcefully broke through Ling Su's pointed sea spears. How could a person's temperament change so much? Without thinking, Ling Su suddenly lowered his body and laid on Flamingo's back. Vermilion blade cloud. After breaking through 2 layers of spear screens, the fragmented blade aura finally disappeared. Dealing. Xianxia's mind flashed with a beautiful figure. Meng Wei was indescribably shocked. The Tang Tian in front of her was brimming with dangerous qi. Xianxia's heart palpitated, but he was still calm. His mind kept repeating, "Don't go, don't go." Lupus constellation. Zhou Xian did not notice the change in Xianxia's expression. His attention was focused on the screen. It was his ice blue left eye. What exactly was that? Ling Su's situation was much better than Tang Tian's. Zhou Xian did not even look at Xianxia. While stuffing popcorn into his mouth, he chattered incessantly. This is hailed as a battle that will change the entire situation. The entire world's situation will change because of it. Your blood is boiling. Young man, if you miss this battle, it will be a lifetime regret. Meng Wei looked at Tang Tian in shock. Single Blade descended at an extremely fast speed. The blade in his hand was raised up high. Countless of fragmented blade auras, like a swarm of black bees, surrounded his blade and whistled. Suddenly, Xianxia thought about the opponent's identity as a scholar, and felt that it was impossible for him to make such a low-level mistake. When he saw the one-armed blade artist on the screen, he could not help but exclaim out loud. Oh! Zhou Yan's reply made Xianxia feel that he did not even hear his teachings. Just as Xianxia was prepared to attack him again, Zhou Yan suddenly said, "Speaking of which, that guy holding the blade seems to have the blood meridians of Qiaofeng constellation. So fast." Zhou Yan heavily patted Xianxia's shoulder, interrupting him. His face was filled with reverence as he looked at Xianxia, as expected of senior Yang. His breadth of mind and boldness is definitely not something an ordinary student can compare to. Ideals, this is the greatness of ideals. Only a person like Senior is worthy of such a grand ideal. We will definitely return with great rewards. At that time, everyone will be shocked by our discoveries. Even Senior Jiling will be shocked and worshipped by Senior's achievements. She will definitely become Senior's most fanatical fan. Now we are only left with the simplest problem: travel expenses. We only need 600,000 star coins and we will be able to realize this grand plan. Ling Su, who was below for some reason, had a strange look on his face. I knew it, Senior is such a hero and will definitely not be overcautious and will definitely not be afraid to move forward. That is because Senior is a man of his word and every spit he spits is a nail. Zhou Xian clapped his hands and said passionately, even this last obstacle has disappeared, then what else can stop us from realizing this grand plan? There is no time to lose, Senior Ouyang, let us set off now. Single Blade, who was descending from the sky, his eyes flashed with a stern look and fiercely slashed down. Ouyang sure felt that he had finally found a chance to mock the top student, and said earnestly, young lad, you must place your thoughts on the right path. Lupus constellation? What kind of countryside is that? And even cause a change in the structure of the world. Only we, the 12 ecliptic palaces, have the qualifications to say such words. Single Blade's figure disappeared again, but this time, Ling Su was prepared. He gently rubbed his fingers and the pointed sea spears transformed into a ball-shaped spear screen, enveloping his entire body. On his face, a yellow and black pattern suddenly appeared, like the pattern on a bee's body. His expression immediately froze. Wait, what did I just say? In a faraway place in a different corner, almost the same voice sounded out. Where did the battle take place? Ouyang sure asked and hated himself for not living up to expectations. Tang Tian's left eye suddenly became azure blue, like an ice sapphire. Zhui Yan and Ouyang sure did not notice that on the light screen behind them, Ling Su, who was looking up, had a weird look on his face. Right. Zhui Yan spoke very quickly. As fast as he spoke, he threw popcorn into his mouth. The popcorn formed a line, flying into his mouth, and said unclearly, Qiao Feng constellation, why don't we go and capture this guy to research? This kind of opportunity is not often seen. Our Aries constellation and Qiao Feng constellation have a deep relationship. Who knows, we might be able to find something interesting from inside. The pointed sea spears in his hands suddenly exploded like rain. Single Blade felt the temperature of the blood in his body dropping, his mouth curled into a cold smile and the blade in his hand tightened. Before he could react, a fine blade aura suddenly appeared in front of him. Every blade aura was the size of a fingernail, but there were many of them densely packed together, looking like a swarm of hornets. Countless cold auras flickered and interweaved. With one look, one could tell that it was filled with danger. Regardless of which angle Single Blade sneak attacked from, he would trigger his own spear screen. Single Blade did not chase, he needed to catch his breath. Ling Su's pointed sea spears were filled with a sticky suction force. If he was not careful, he would easily fall into it. It was his first time seeing such a strange spear technique. Exam? Such a good opportunity is right in front of you and you're still thinking about exams? Don't tell me your heart is only so big? Alright, I admit that I have misjudged you. At most I'll be a month of hard labor. That is already the most severe punishment. Senior, think about it, using a month of hard labor to exchange for such a rare opportunity. What reason is there not to be willing? When Ouyang Shi's foot stepped out of the door, he immediately reacted. Suddenly Ling Su's eyes constricted, Single Blade's right hand disappeared in the air. It was still the same face, clearly covered in sweat, but the bone-chilling cold indifference made it seem as though the young man in front of him had changed into another person. Ling Su's unexpected action gave him a chance to catch his breath. Both sides quietly faced each other. Go and die. Single Blade's figure suddenly disappeared. Sigh. King Peacock Eyes. Schwa. Pavo constellation. Lang Yu, who was sitting in the palace watching the battle, suddenly stood up, staring at Tang Tian on the screen, his face filled with disbelief. King Peacock Eyes. Single Blade was scared witless. He knew that he could not continue like this. Chapter 308. Then what about Mahamayuri? It was Sima Zhao's first time hearing the song and he felt that it was extremely fresh, but his senior brother did not mention Mahamayuri. By right he should have exhausted all his energy, so how could he maintain such a high-intensity attack? Because he wanted to win. The astonishing qi flowed out, Meng Wei's hair fluttered, holding onto her sword, her eyebrows were solemn as though she was a goddess of war. Suddenly Meng Wei felt a trace of fatigue and was surprised. She needed to focus even more to be able to defend against Tang Tian's attacks. If not for Tang Tian's true power, which was only at the 7th level, then she would have been in deep trouble. Meng Wei had some suspicions in her mind. Her sword force was extremely heavy, and after clashing with Tang Tian so many times, Tang Tian acted as though he was fine. Tang Tian's strength was not bad, but that was only to normal people. To her he could not even withstand a single blow. The sense of danger came again. It was the Demon King Blazing Firefly again. She was about to retract her sword and retreat. She immediately understood, it was Tang Tian's crafty attacks, causing her to be in a constant state of nervousness, and her mental state was starting to show signs of fatigue. After Tang Tian activated his strange blue eyes, the power of his attacks did not change much, but the threat increased by a large margin. It has happened in the past, but it is extremely rare. Qiu Zhijun shook his head. The details have never been passed down. Let us first watch the battle. Pa pa pa. Suddenly, the star map of Cetus constellation appeared in the sky. A gentle light beam shot down from the sky, enveloping the sword in her hand. Was that Tang Tian's true intention? Meng Wei's expression was calm, but her heart was extremely cold. Both parties were fighting fast, causing people to be dazzled. Sparks exploded in front of Meng Wei, Tang Tian's blurred figure, flickering in and out of the flames. Meng Wei's expression was calm. The sword in her left hand did not slow down at all, and accurately struck Tang Tian's fire scythe ghost claw. Meng Wei was a decisive person. Once she made a decision, she would not hesitate and retreated. Hearing his senior brother muttering to himself, Sima Xiao was surprised. Why can't Tang Tian train in it? The sword accurately struck onto Tang Tian's body, but the feeling of emptiness in her hands made Meng Wei realize that her sword had missed. Tang Tian's strength had actually reached such a formidable level. Burn red eyes. An I-type martial skill with an insight attribute? So powerful. I want every victory. Eternal victory. You can take the power of a constellation? Sima Xiao was in disbelief. Tang Tian clenched his teeth and stared at Meng Wei. He wanted to laugh, but in the end, it was as if he was convulsing. This kind of predicament, such a strong enemy, did not make Tang Tian feel the slightest bit discouraged. On the contrary, he felt very excited, sincerely excited. Suddenly, 3 specks of light that resembled fireflies appeared at the bottom of her vision. It was the first time in Meng Wei's life that she felt so tired. Ding. Furthermore, this fellow had clashed with him so many times. How could he possibly still have any strength left? In midair, he suddenly took a step forward. His figure flashed and he suddenly disappeared. No, I need to change this situation. Senior brother, what is the King Peacock Eyes? Sima Xiao turned and asked curiously, but it was rare to see his senior brother being so serious, and he felt that the matter was becoming more and more interesting. That was the demeanor of a true expert. Any strong martial artist, regardless of their fighting style, would never have a fatal weakness. But Tang Tian's heart did not have any ripples. He continued to change his figure, and under the King Peacock Eyes, the might of the wind concealment steps and fire scythe ghost claw was displayed to its fullest. In Tang Tian's ice blue vision, Meng Wei's aura was soaring at an astonishing speed. An extreme sense of danger enveloped his entire body, and his ice-cold state of mind had signs of becoming unstable. I am that greedy. Qi Lu. The moment the sword in her hand clashed with Tang Tian's claw aura, she sensed that something was wrong. As expected, the sword suddenly bounced up. This was a sign that she had exhausted too much of her physical strength, and with Tang Tian's sharp battle senses, he would definitely be able to sense it. Surprisingly, Tang Tian did not chase after her. A series of sparks suddenly lit up in front of her eyes. Meng Wei's expression was normal, the sword in her left hand, brazenly thrusting forward. So it was like that. Qiu Zhijun's expression congealed even more. Tang Tian definitely used some method to snatch the constellation power of Pavo constellation. Because if he won, he would be praised by everyone. Because he won, he would be able to obtain a lot of wealth. Because he won, he could continue to go further. Because he won, he could continue to fight. The claw technique was extremely strange, but it was also ferocious and violent, an extremely brilliant claw technique. And his true power, from the initial ice cold in the blink of an eye, had become even more ferocious and strange. The true power was like an intense spinning drill. Tang Tian laughed, revealing his snow-white teeth, and roared like thunder. Bang! I don't know if he is reliable. Hey, you must be reliable. Every time he pierced a light spot, a thread of ice-cold true power would enter the sword body. But what truly made Meng Wei feel troublesome was his freakish body technique. Pavo Constellation. Sima Shao suddenly thought of something and raised his head. I remember there was a piece of news a while ago saying that many of the treasures of Pavo Constellation had dropped in rank. This matter caused a lot of panic, and many people thought that Pavo Constellation was going to follow in the footsteps of Immortal Constellation. The sword sliced through the air. The sword body contained a powerful force, causing the air that the sword body touched to shatter, giving people the illusion that the sword body was distorting. Once again it missed. There was no light aura, only pure power. Even the Demon King blazing firefly that was hidden inside was not able to cause any trouble for Meng Wei. Every time her arm was about to freeze, she would change the sword to another hand. Why do I want to win? In Tang Tian's ice blue vision, Meng Wei, who was in front of him, did not have any flaws. Her sword techniques were simple and plain. She obviously knew her own strengths and weaknesses, and was a perfect match. Meng Wei was not without flaws, but she knew how to protect her weaknesses. And Tang Tian's attacks, regardless of the angle or timing, were all amazing, causing Meng Wei to feel unwell. Why am I so excited? Why am I so happy? Why am I not afraid at all? Both of their gazes were back on the battlefield. Tang Tian, who was standing in the air with his hands by his side, emitted an ice-cold aura, indifferently looking at Meng Wei in front of him. His muscles were still aching, but at the moment Tang Tian's heart was as cold as ice. The sensations in his body were directly cut off. Such a strong enemy, if he could defeat her, then he would definitely improve by a huge step. She would definitely become stronger. Her left and right hands were actually equally strong. Borrowing the King Peacock eyes, Tang Tian and Meng Wei were evenly matched. Qiu Zhijun regained his senses and explained, the reason why the King Peacock eyes is so strong is because it is trained using the power of the constellation. To be able to use the power of the constellation is only the constellation master. This generation's peacock master is Lang Yu, Pavo Constellation Saint Treasure. The peacock plume is in his hands, so I am curious, how did Tang Tian manage to train in the King Peacock eyes? This posture is so ugly. Wait till I become stronger, I will definitely change it. If I am defeated by the T-Rex, I will definitely be laughed at by the housefly cow. It talks about a type of martial technique. Qiu Zhijun's expression congealed. The legends say that the King Peacock eyes can see through all the techniques in the world. It should be a type of eye-type martial technique. There are very few people who can successfully train in it, so it is impossible for Tang Tian to train in it. The sword body trembled, paw, accurately striking. Meng Wei shivered again, her right hand felt as though it was about to freeze. An extreme sense of danger assaulted Meng Wei's heart. Without thinking, her wrist trembled, the clear and crisp sound of the air exploding. The long sword brought forth a blurred sword image and accurately pierced the three fireflies. Southern Sky 42 Phoenix Fire Armor, King Peacock Movement, Human Horse Amorous Spear, Heavenly Crane leaves the east, persevering like a jackal wolf. Qiu Zhijun said indifferently, there are not many people who remember this ballad, even I do not remember it completely. It talks about the Southern Sky 42, the strongest of each constellation. Phoenix Fire Armor, the strongest part of the Phoenix, is their fire-type armor. Their fire armor is tyrannical and powerful. Many Northern Sky Great Armors cannot compare to it. Centaur God's Spear refers to the Centaurus constellation. The martial artists of the Centaurus constellation are most proficient in throwing spears, throwing like the wind, and they are naturally romantic, open-minded. The founder of the Heavenly Crane constellation, Crane's spiritual master, came from the east. Their martial techniques formed their own school and is different from the other constellations. Persevering like a jackal wolf, Lupus constellation's environment is harsh and barren, nurturing the Lupus people's persevering character. In the Southern Sky 42, no one can compare to them. Wind concealment steps. It was as though there was something sleeping in her body that was gradually awakening. She did not like the feeling. The blood in her body was boiling. She raised her sword and bellowed, "White whale, bestow me the sword." Such a ferocious T-Rex. Uncle was right, such a ferocious creature. Could it be that Uncle did not marry because of this? Suddenly east, suddenly west, rushing forward and suddenly retreating, his body seemed to be able to change direction at any time, completely going against common sense. This allowed Tang Tian to attack from any angle. Meng Wei had no choice but to focus and deal with Tang Tian's unpredictable attacks. Unexpectedly, Tang Tian released the king peacock eyes, and the blue left eye quickly became dim. The terrifying cold qi around his body suddenly disappeared, and the previously blocked pain and fatigue surged forth like a tide. Tang Tian groaned and almost fainted. He clenched his teeth and endured, but his face was distorted, looking extremely sinister. Only then did Meng Wei see Tang Tian's situation clearly, and her heart relaxed. Tang Tian was completely drenched, perspiring profusely, although the expression on his face was still ice-cold, but the perspiration and flushed face, the heavy breathing, the slightly trembling arms, all showed that he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Such a strong enemy, if he could defeat her, it would definitely be satisfying. Tang Tian laughed bitterly in his heart. He used all his strength and opened up his arms. Tang Tian's entire body was trembling, looking like a broken scarecrow trembling in the wind. Meng Wei's eyes shrunk. She flipped her wrist, and the sword in front of her suddenly slashed horizontally. Meng Wei suddenly realized that she was holding onto an ice sword. It was extremely cold. She shivered and almost could not hold on to the sword. But her body was extremely strong. She clenched her teeth and endured it and stabbed behind her. I never thought that I would have to use that move. Meng Wei did not look down on him. The Tang Tian in front of her had already given her too many surprises and surprises. Demon King Blazing Firefly. Chapter 309. The formation of the troops behind Bing was extremely weird. One after another they formed an umbrella shape and converged around him. A blade aura whizzed past, causing the three of them to jump in fright, and immediately dodged to the side, pulling apart the distance. He could not help but turn his head, his gaze landing on the figure covered in black flames. Harboring such suspicions, the Lupus army had attracted a lot of attention from the start. Especially when people saw that the one leading the army was a spirit general, they became even more curious. It seemed that every constellation had a possibility. Leo constellation was famed for fire, although black flames were rarely seen, but in Leo constellation the probability of it appearing was considerable. Sagittarius constellation also had arrow flames, and Scorpio constellation had a higher probability of producing black flames. The blood meridians that Tu Ruhai had come into contact with, the highest level was the Equatorial Palace Hall silver meridians. As for higher levels, he could only imagine. Even the generals who were paying attention to this battle couldn't help but be shocked. The spirit general was truly indulging in fantasy, to actually come up with such a weird formation. Using a spirit military general to deal with the battle already made everyone feel that Tang Tian wanted to give up on the army, and for the spirit military general to come up with such a weird formation, everyone felt that it was a joke. Luckily, that was not his original intention. He had countless battle formations and knew that to rely on this motley crew to win was extremely difficult, and conventional methods would definitely not work. Give him another 2 to 3 months, he had the confidence to bring this group of cannon fodder to casually trample on the three fellows. But not now. What formation is this? Tang Tian's right eye suddenly turned red like blood. That was another world. Black flames quietly surged out from his body and flowed along the surface of his body. In the blink of an eye, the black flames engulfed Tang Tian. Inside the black flames, only a vague human figure could be seen. The Ecliptic Palace Hall silver blood and onyx soul were all bought from the declining descendants of the 12 palaces by paying an astonishing price. The 12 palaces had people who specialized in this business. After these achievements, due to the decline of their families, it was difficult to survive, and they could only use their blood meridians to exchange for survival, or exchange for opportunities for their descendants to advance. This spirit military general is somewhat troublesome. Old Feng's face was not good, the other two's faces were not good either. He was the master of Pavo constellation. His body had been baptized by the power of Pavo constellation for so many years, and the blood meridians in his body had long changed. However, he knew very well that his bloodline was far inferior to Tang Tian's. Generals were much rarer than martial artists. A general who could command 10 people would be able to find a high-paying job in any mercenary group. Whether a general was outstanding or not was determined by two criteria. The first was the ability to command. How many warriors could he command? The higher the rank, the higher the number. The second was the level of battle tactics. The situation on the battlefield was ever-changing. Only by making the right decision at the right time could one obtain the best result. He spread his arms and stood there silently, black flames curling around him. A pair of dark red eyes slowly lit up from within the black flames. It was a terrifying sight. Lang Yu looked at Tang Tian, who was covered in black flames, with a peerless horror. Her hands and feet were ice cold. When he saw Tang Tian's king peacock eyes, he could not help but have the thought of finding trouble with Tang Tian. But now he no longer had any thoughts of finding Tang Tian. He did not know what the black flames were, but he knew it was not something he could provoke. Tu Ruhai did not have any thoughts and started to worry about the outcome of the battle. And the current Lion King Lei Ong was even more tyrannical on this point. Because of such matters, he had already started 3 wars and blood flowed like rivers. Tu Ruhai was also watching the battle. Because of some reasons he did not personally go. Out of the 6 of them he was most at ease with Meng Wei. But he never thought that Meng Wei would actually be the first to meet with a problem. Good. The Iron Tower, like Manju, agreed. His brute force was the most suitable for such a battle formation. All the palaces turned a blind eye to this kind of thing. But when he saw the black flames surging out from Tang Tian's body, he immediately stood up. The individual strength of military leaders were usually very weak, and in essence military leaders were a type of support-type martial artist. They only trained in one way, and that was to control the aura. The so-called control aura was the ability to control the various sword auras and blade auras released by their comrades. The higher the control aura ability, the higher the ability to command. The battle was in a stalemate. Tang Tian's blue left eye attracted his interest, especially when he saw that Tang Tian was actually able to force Meng Wei to use the power of the constellation in her blood meridians. He was surprised, but in his heart he thought that the battle was over. Blood meridians. That was definitely the power of blood meridians. Although the 12 ecliptic palaces had fought before, but to protect their descendants, they treated them equally. The disciples of the 12 ecliptic palaces could be killed, but anyone who dared to extract the blood meridians of the ecliptic palaces would definitely be punished by the palaces. As expected, behind Tang Yi, the large army was quickly changing their formation. In the battle, the most attention was focused on Tang Tian and Meng Wei's battle, but there was another battle that many people were paying attention to, and that was the Lupus army. A low-level constellation like Southern Sky's 42 constellations had never had an army in the past. Countless thoughts flashed through Tu Ruhai's mind, but his eyes were unwilling to leave the light screen for even a moment. His eyes were filled with greed and passion. If he could contribute a bloodline that was of a higher grade than the Equatorial Palace silver rank, then his status as an elder would definitely rise by a level. Above that was the golden bloodline. The reason he had started this conflict was because, given his position, no matter what he did in the Southern Sky's 42 constellations, nothing would happen to him. If Tang Tian truly had the Ecliptic Palace's blood meridians, then Meng Wei would be in danger. In the Southern Sky's 42 constellations, he had the qualifications and the strength to do so. As for what disputes would arise later, it had nothing to do with him. His actions were within the scope of his authority, so no one could find fault with him. Equatorial silver blood, this was already quite difficult for him. The next level would be the Ecliptic Path silver bloodline, which was the pinnacle existence of the silver bloodline. This was not a problem of money. To be able to possess Ecliptic Palace's silver blood, one had to be a descendant of the 12 palaces. Of the 12 Ecliptic Palaces, a few of them were already on the verge of destruction. But no one had ever dared to have any ideas on the descendants of the 12 Ecliptic Palaces. But thinking about that, Tu Ruhai's mind calmed down. If it was the Ecliptic Path silver blood, then he could not touch it. There was also the possibility of it being an ancient blood meridian. If that was the case, then it would definitely be a fat piece of meat. The most important reason was that talents were hard to come by. Any army needed a military leader, and with a military leader, then it could be called an army. At the start, when they heard that Lupus Constellation had an army, everyone thought it was a joke. Until they heard that 2 Heaven Road list martial artists met with the army, and one died and the other was injured, then everyone started to be interested. A spirit general with a commanding power of 200, that price was definitely sky high. But very quickly, someone realized that there was a spirit general in the army commanding 50 people. But if that was the case, the spirit general with the poker face would have a commanding power of 150. Even a big organization like Onyx Soul would not dare to start a war with the big shots. Unless this small place truly had an army. All these years he had long given up on the thought of climbing up because he knew it was almost impossible. So he was a tyrant. Tang Yi's commanding power was 60. An ordinary staff sergeant's was 50. He was a gold-ranked staff sergeant and had 10 more. Sima Xiao turned his head and looked at his senior brother in a daze. Senior brother. Bing was very calm. The three of them had rich battle experience and did not rush the formation, but made a detour and ran to the back of the formation. It was their first time seeing such a weird formation, although they did not know the depth of it, but they could still see that the back of the formation was a huge flaw. Although the cannon fodder had trained in the umbrella formation for a few days, but to rely on a few days of time to completely understand the formation was simply impossible. Ecliptic Palace's silver blood. Tang Tian definitely had the Ecliptic Palace's silver blood in his body. Ancient race descendant? Or an extremely small chance of mutation. But everyone shook their heads. The spirit general's commanding power was enough. But to rely on such an army to defeat 3 of the 2 family 6 guards was simply wishful thinking. Many people had their suspicions cleared and immediately lost interest in the following battle, thinking that the 2 Heaven Road list martial artists were careless, and thus were killed by the cannon fodder army. He led the 50 men and like a gust of wind, killed their way to the 3 of them. Without any nonsense, the zanbato in his hand suddenly slashed out, and at the same time, the lupus martial artists behind him brandished their curved blades in unison. The main army is changing formation. Amethyst reminded. Rush over. No matter how powerful he is, he only has 50 men. Old Feng clenched his teeth. Manju, you are the main attacker. A spirit general with commanding power of 200 was a sky-high price. A spirit general with commanding power of 150 was also a sky-high price. But they had met Tang Yi here. So when everyone saw that there were 200 people in this army, they were all shocked. His expression was extremely excited. He had never heard of any blood meridians that could produce black flames. He opened his eyes wide, his body leaned forward and stared at the screen in a daze. Military general type spirit generals were called spirit military generals and were not rare. Especially military general type spirit generals with commanding power lower than 20, they were mostly used in large mercenary groups and organizations. Spirit generals with commanding power over 50 were extremely expensive, and ordinary organizations would find it hard to afford them. Furthermore, spirit generals usually had limited intelligence, although they had commanding power, but compared to humans they were not nimble enough. They could be used in small groups but rarely used in large groups. It was the first time the brown-haired young man saw his senior brother so flustered. He could not imagine that his senior brother would actually have such an expression. The so-called military general was a martial artist that could guide and converge the attacks of more than 10 people. There were many elders in Onyx Soul, and even though they were all elders, their positions were as different as heaven and earth. The more they contributed to Onyx Soul, the higher their position would be, and the more power they would have and the more wealth they would have. Seeing the 3 of them rushing towards him, Tang Yi was expressionless, and once again raised the zanbato in his hand. This is black frames. Qiu Zhijun's expression changed, his voice trembling slightly. Inside his body, it was as though something had suddenly exploded and rushed straight to his brain. Tang Tian's body trembled, his pupils losing focus. The blue in his left eye quickly became clean, and a bit of red surged out from the depths of his pupil, and quickly filled his entire eye. Like a demon god. Which ecliptic palace constellation could produce black flames? Thinking about it, he jumped in fright. Tang Yi's judgment of their attack route was extremely accurate, and it felt as though they were rushing forward. If they wanted to win, then they had to take a different path. Leading 50 people to him was extremely easy.